sulfur.
Hello and welcome to the Saladcast on Sunday the 20th of October 2013. I'm your host Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
We've all been sufficiently degassed.
and Robert Kemp.
That would be
me. Okay. I'm seeing a clip light now on my mic. I have to turn it. There we go.
No, don't fucking shit.
Okay. I'll leave it at absolute max.
Max everything out.
Yes.
10 to 11.
Okay. Well, I didn't know. It doesn't have numbers on the. That's a bit of a shame on the dial.
Dots.
No, there's no dots. Well, it kind of has like a polygon around it of straight sides. I can't see how many sides though. Maybe an octagon. Definitely more than
8.
Well, the thing is,
7,
where does it start though? Because like it doesn't. That goes all the way around, and the sweep of the knob is obviously not all the way around. It's only sort of 3/4 of the way around.
So then you can get to 10. that kind of makes sense. Unless it depends whether the minimum is actually off, because then that's when 0 makes sense. If the minimum isn't actually, complete nothing, then 0 doesn't make. Then you're allowed to not have 0 as your minimum.
That's true, but in this case, I'm sure it probably is the minimum. It is probably nothing. In the case of a amplifier, indeed. Anyway.
Yeah, you could be doubly dumb and have it be off and then 0.
You go past off. But that might actually work, if you're you've turned the amp off at that point and then somehow you're introducing extra resistance or something.
Well, I was thinking the other way around, really. Like you go down to 0 and then off.
Oh. Well, that makes a lot more sense to me.
It makes some more sense. I would say a lot.
Yeah, because you don't really want it on and at 0 for any practical purpose. I suppose maybe to keep it warmed up or something. Ready to go.
Yeah, it seems that we've got that rain you were talking about suddenly.
Suddenly?
What do you? Oh, you've got it over in your side. I think it's starting up here too, but I can't hear it too bad. Yes, listeners, we were just concerned that I might be getting a pitter-patter of rain from my end due to being on the ground floor. Innovations.
Ground floor innovation.
Now featuring rain sound technology to make you feel at home and warm inside.
Yeah, do you ever use that rainymood.com or whatever? Just rain sounds for working. It's like white noise, but it's just rain.
Wow. I didn't know that existed. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool. Yeah. It's like it does loop, but it takes like an hour and a half or something. It takes ages. And it's like super high quality recording of rain. Or something.
Excellent.
I don't know. Yeah. Useful.
Rain ambiance.
I'd actually forgotten about that. I should have used that the other day. I'll have to remember. Should install a link. Indeed.
What other ambience do they do?
No, other sites for different ambiences for your whale sounds or whatever you want. But if you just want rain, go to Rainy Mood. There was quite a funny thing on Reddit ages ago where you had to open multiple browser windows, and one was Rainy Mood, and then another one was like a roaring fire on YouTube for like an hour or something, and another one was like smooth jazz or something. So you had to build up the sort of ambience.
proper jazz lounge ambience.
Exactly.
Now we need a smoke machine that smells exactly like really big cigars. And you're all the way there.
Because
you're in jazz heaven.
You're manufacturing cigar smoke, but out of a box, like a machine for making cigar smoke. Just wafting it.
To give you that authentic feel of smooth jazz.
Cigars are very important to the jazz world.
Or at the very least, really cheap cigarettes.
Well, that's a bit.
There's no middle ground in jazz.
Right. Yeah. It's either super high class Cuban cigars or like the cheapest cigarettes you can find.
See, well, yeah, because these guys they probably go through about 50 a day. They're not made of money, so they.
That's true. They're only
the cheapest brand, and then you get the alternatives. The higher class people that don't necessarily smoke a lot, but smoke big. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Apparently not. What is the cheapest brand of cigarettes? They're all quite expensive because of tax, aren't they? So you can't at least in Britain. Anyway.
There's a minimum, basically. And then it's an expensive minimum, I suppose. Anyway, let's get off the topic that we apparently know nothing about.
Okay.
New cancer sticks.
Those are the best topics.
Hey guys, I've got this great new product. It's called the lung fucker.
Actually.
Someone would definitely buy that, sadly.
Lung fucker death sticks.
Hey, you want to buy some death sticks? That was me quoting Star Wars Episode 2 there. Really bad film.
There was death sticks?
There were death sticks in the stupid nightclub. In
like 2 seconds, the pointless throwaway line that they put in there merely to try and get some comedy in, and it was bad comedy.
It was very bad Obi-Wan based comedy.
You do not want any death sticks.
In fact, he just waved his hand and completely changed someone's entire life. Right, that was the joke, I suppose.
Yeah, well, sort of. However fucking good, mind tricks actually work.
Yeah, is it just temporary? And a few moments later, they're just like, oh yeah. I really do like selling death sticks.
I'm a drug dealer. I remember.
That's what I do.
This is really lucrative. I'm going to stick at it. So do you, Jedi.
Don't know what the hell I was thinking.
So, video games.
What? Video games?
They're a thing. So we're here.
Yeah, they exist.
Is there any news in the world of that thing?
I don't know. Has there been any Microsoft news?
There should be 6 bits of Microsoft news right now.
The eternal question. What's new in Xbox One land?
So they did show another little marketing video that somewhat outlined what your experience would be sort of using the Dash. They didn't really show very much. It was mostly just 2 dudes talking at each other.
I think I saw this. Is this Major Nelson?
No, it wasn't Major Nelson. It was someone else.
Right. Okay.
This was sort of done interview styley. Some random dude talking to who I think is the product manager of Xbox or one of them, but it's not Major Nelson and it's not a well-known sort of figurehead, I don't think.
Right.
But yeah, they talked it through and basically just said the only thing I sort of really remember about the Dash is there's not quite so many ads that I noticed, and the login has a funky full screen animation when you first log into the console. It just goes hello. That's pretty much all I got out of that video. It was really, really kind of, oh great, you've told us pretty much nothing. That's probably fine.
I think I saw a little bit of a Major Nelson one that showed some new stuff, but I can't remember. Oh, yeah, you could favorite friends, and then they would be more favorites.
Oh yeah,
you'd see more of their feed, their activity feed or something.
Well, I guess there was the following system that they sort of introduced, so in a Twitter-ish sort of move. Even you could follow people, and you don't have to be friends with them.
Yeah,
you automatically become friends if they then decide to follow you back.
Yeah. So you can follow random celebrities, I guess, or
I guess.
Gaming industry people, or for some reason.
Jeff Gerstmann is now playing.
Yeah.
That would be quite dogs. I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be quite fun to follow the giant bombing login, the quick look login to see what. What was being made. Yeah,
well, I don't know if that'd be that fun. It would just be every game that's coming out. That would be a release. If you didn't know what was coming out, you'd just see occasional pop-ups. It's oh, that must be coming out this week.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And I guess it makes it quicker to launch a game with you, Rob, I guess, or whoever, and Rick, or whoever the favourites are.
I guess. Depends how that even
even
Yeah, it
works.
depends on that even really works. If it's like an extra click or if it's just a different click.
Mm. I saw a video about the accessories, and they talked about racing wheels, which I guess makes sense, seeing as Forza 5 is really the only awesome-looking launch game. They said they had a new API for the actual Rumble. Not Rumble, force feedback.
Force feedback, okay.
Yeah, which sounded like a lot better from what they were saying. But I obviously haven't tried it, but it sounded like you could be more specific about the forces involved and stuff.
Cool buns.
So that sounded okay.
Whoop. I'm sure there was something a bit negative, but I can't remember it off the top of my head.
What about Xbox or news in general?
Well, Microsoft and Xbox, that kind of crowd.
Yeah, there's a couple of big slips, right? Like Watch Dogs, right?
Yeah.
Has slipped to next year.
Has it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a big deal.
And something else that was meant to come out this year as well.
Yeah, there's one other thing.
That was in the same news report, but might not also be Ubisoft or whatever.
Huh.
Yeah, but that is kind
Assassin's
of...
Creed.
I know. It's the Drive Club has slipped for PS4 or whatever.
Oh, whoop-de-fucking-do.
Which is hilarious. Because, like... I mean, that's going to cost them a lot of sales because a lot of people would have bought that just because it was a launch game, not because it was any good.
Oh, yeah, you get that free version or something for day one PSN subscribers or something, isn't it?
No, wait. Was it Drive Club or was it The Crew?
I thought it was Drive Club. Maybe it's both.
Yeah, because I think because The Crew is like Ubisoft as well, isn't it?
This is really fucking great news, actually.
Yeah, this is going well.
Well, we never pay attention enough to actually remember news. I think The Crew might have been the one that was announced at the same time as Watch Dogs, because I think they're both Ubisoft, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think they are.
There you go. That's my theoretical news.
Okay.
Maybe news.
Possibly news.
Coming right at you.
Didn't Rick go and play like an Xbox One or something?
Well, yeah, so have I.
Oh, yeah, of course. Well, you were at the Eurogamer Expo, weren't you?
Yeah.
So it was that one. It was the PS4 that you didn't get a chance to. You just played
it
a
was the one I
PS4
didn't
game
get.
on a dev kit, right?
Yeah.
With a PS4 controller.
Yes.
That's right. Okay. So we're all, all tried out on the controllers.
Yeah. There was...
I mean, we're pretty much there, aren't we? What are we, like a month out? Yeah.
Yeah, about 5 weeks.
Yeah, okay.
5 weeks at this point.
Okay. Do you know what you... so what you're getting? Forza, right?
Well, yeah, I haven't pre-ordered any games to go with the thing yet.
Okay.
So I probably will get Forza, because I think that's the thing I'm most interested in.
Yeah.
And maybe Crimson Dragon, if that turns out to be good.
Yeah, sure.
It looks real nice.
Who's making that? Is that actually Panzer Dragoon people? Or
well, yeah, kinda. It's like it's not the same studio, but it's got some of the original guys from the Panzer Dragoon teams.
Okay.
In the team, so it's there's some pedigree there to say it might be good.
Okay,
so
sounds encouraging.
Yeah. Doobla whoop. Has there been any new Steam activity, like from Steam Controller and Steam OS and all that stuff?
No,
just that gameplay. Well, that video demonstration.
Oh yeah, I suppose we didn't talk about that last time.
Yeah,
we had it last time.
Did we?
No, we didn't talk about the video.
No, because it was all of the announcements last time. The video of them actually playing games with it hadn't come out last time.
I feel like we talked about it though.
No. Well, we talked about it. Sure.
Well, yeah, probably.
Yeah, I don't know, but perhaps I was a little overly skeptical at first. I think that will work for a large number of games. I still don't think it'll be better.
No, it won't be better than mouse and keyboard. It's pretty much impossible, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be better than mouse and keyboard for those sort of games, and I also don't think it'll be better for games like Devil May Cry still. But it is an interesting alternative to games that don't, perhaps, things that aren't shooters and things that aren't necessarily very digital, buttony, pressy games.
Well, I think it might be the best way to play a shooter on a TV, potentially.
Yeah, maybe it's better than a controller. I'm actually willing to concede that maybe it will be better than a controller.
For first-person
controller for shooters.
That's kind of where their sweet spot really are. I would have thought what they want to achieve is like can you play TF2 competitively? Like, probably still be hard to play against mouse and keyboard people, but at least you'll have more chance than if you were using a gamepad and playing that on a TV away from your computer. Oh no!
Our recording's screwing up again. Get some more delicious underflow in there.
It's all right. I think we're just gonna have to put up with it. It's gonna be periodic. I think
occasional underflow.
Your computer is doing something down here.
What? My thing's doing what now?
Your computer's doing something.
It's doing something.
More hard disk activity than it was.
Well, that's how Audacity records.
Well, yeah, but I mean, more than it was.
Yeah, I don't know. Could be Windows getting bored.
Maybe you shouldn't have used Audacity. Maybe you should have used Goldwave where it sets the file size beforehand. Well,
maybe. Goldwave just records into RAM, though. Audacity records into thing, and that also gives us the advantage of we can go forever.
Yeah, that's not necessarily an advantage.
No,
we don't have to worry about keeping to a schedule. We can talk shit all day long. we can theorize about what news may be.
What may be happening.
I'll tell you what else is news.
Oh, yeah? What's that?
The thing that's happening right now. It's apparently news.
What else is news is apparently Sonic Lost Worlds isn't that great.
Well,
what a surprise.
It's sort of mixed.
Yeah.
There are
it's probably average.
Well, there are people that are known to be
gravy.
sort of. There are people that are known to be sort of Sonic fans that have come out in its defense, like Jim Sterling.
What a surprise!
But yeah, well, I don't know. But they say, perhaps the interesting view from them that I think perhaps may have some truth in it is that it's not necessarily that in some cases that it's really a bad game for the majority of it. It's that it's not really what you expect from a Sonic game, as in doesn't play like any Sonic game that's come before.
Right.
And that maybe that throws people's expectations for what they actually want out of it. And that's
just the feel of it that's different or something?
I played it at Eurogamer, and it feels very different.
It's still got like the homing attacks and the running forwards in a line.
Yeah, but there's something funny about the momentum. As I say, the speed has been decreased to try and make room for more platformy stuff.
Okay.
What I saw of it, I didn't think it was bad, and maybe it gets worse. It's interesting nonetheless.
Are you going to give it a go then, or
if I get a Wii U, yeah, why not?
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. Well, yeah.
Potentially, maybe by the time you get a Wii U, it will be cheaper because it's safe.
Yeah.
So there's a slight chance that price will decrease.
Yeah, it's not an indie game, so.
So when Smash Brothers comes out, then you'll be thinking about Sonic Lost World potentially.
Apparently, the 3DS version is potentially worse. I mean, naturally, because the 3DS version of Generations clearly was worse.
Yeah, they always seem to be putting their B team on the mobile games at the moment, which is a shame.
Yeah, it's a shame considering that those Rush games ages back were quite good.
Yeah. Yeah, it is disappointing because given what I think a lot of the reviewers that gave it bad remarks that I've seen were kind of like, well, they seem to be onto a winner with Sonic Colors and then the fantastic Sonic Generations, and then they took
totally
this
changed direction for no apparent reason.
Yeah, and it's like, why did they do this when they finally made Sonic right?
Why did they not just make DLC for Generations forever? Because
yeah, they totally could have done. It would have been real good.
The proper DLC, not that shitty Pimple Table.
Well, yeah, I didn't even get that.
No.
Do you think they can make a Generations 2, given that it was like a 20th anniversary special thing?
They make anniversary shit for Sonic every anniversary.
Yeah, regardless of whether or not it's actually new content or not, they will do something. Like every 5 years.
Yeah, basically.
There will be something. Yeah, like was Sonic Adventure 2 the 10-year or something like that? They tied that into 10-year spectacular game. Or something like that, and then Mega Collection was for one of them as well, or something.
Yeah, that was probably 15.
Yeah, they keep riding that train.
Mario does it as well, technically. I guess they're just not quite so up on it.
No,
they have their occasional anniversary things, and then they make up bullshit like Year of Luigi.
Year of Luigi is hilarious. You gotta love Year of Luigi. It's clearly the best. I mean, what has there been for the Year of Luigi other than Luigi's Mansion 2?
Luigi's Mansion and New Luigi U or whatever the fuck it's called.
Oh, God. Which was just...
L.
No, that's not what it's called.
L.
Super Luigi Bears, I think.
No, I'm not sure that's even
No,
it, but
okay.
whatever.
I want the year of Waluigi.
Yeah, exactly.
Luigi! I'm the most unnecessary character in the
Ever.
Nintendo universe.
The dumbest character ever. Is he even in any games anymore? If they like scrubbed him?
Well, there's still the tennis game,
Oh right, but does he appear in Mario Kart or whatever these days?
probably.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he does.
It's definitely been in Mario Kart.
Okay.
I think it was because he was in Double Dash.
Yeah, well, yeah, obviously. But that made more sense because it had to team up with Mario.
Yeah.
Right.
They gave him a reason to exist.
Yeah, no, I don't think they've dropped him. Was he in Mario Party 8?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
He's better than like Daisy or whatever they came up with for Mario Kart Golf.
Because they needed another female character.
Yeah.
They didn't come up with Daisy, really. I mean, this is just they just tried to modernise her and made it terrible. It's not a new idea.
And just,
No.
who's a bit obsessed with her own name. Hi, I'm Daisy. yeah, we fucking know.
They didn't really exploit that for Year of Luigi either.
What, Daisy?
Because Luigi is meant to be like Mario for Daisy.
Oh, that's true,
Supposedly.
actually. Yeah. Couldn't they have hooked up in some awkward manner and then have it all fall apart, like in a comedy fashion because it's motherfucking Luigi. And it's... That could have been a very interesting... Yeah, if they had done like if the Paper Mario team, perhaps, or those that's I suppose they worked on Dream Team. I guess that's what they do now. Is that Intelligent Systems?
What?
The Mario and Luigi RPG style games on DS.
I don't know, but I don't think so. The last thing they did was
because they're the Paper Mario guys are Intelligent Systems, aren't they?
Sounds right.
Well,
More speculation.
Systems is fucking Advance Wars.
Yeah, it's the same guys.
I'm not sure if that is the RPGs.
I think it is because this is a precursor to what I was saying later. I actually played a couple of hours of Paper Mario this week.
Okay.
Oh, sweet.
Having after Dan dumped
I think that Paper Mario is probably
the GameCube one.
Yeah.
After Dan dumped your little pile of GameCube games on me, it's like I saw, oh holy shit, there's Paper Mario in here. Maybe I should get around to playing this.
Yeah, 1,000 Year Door, the awesome
that's
one.
That's probably Intelligent Systems, which is why it's good. But I'm trying to remember what it was that... Oh, no, because the last thing that Intelligent Systems that I cared about was doing was Fire Emblem.
Fire Emblem, yeah.
Because it's like, why is this not fucking Advance Wars? You fuckers, I have to make one of them.
Yeah, it's true. Do you think it's been long enough now that, Advance Wars... Because they did...
there was only one on the... Well, no, there was
two on the DS.
But it was like right at the start of the DS and right at the end of the DS. That was like pretty much as far apart as they could possibly be.
Well, yes, but they sort of churned them out for a while, didn't they? Like
I don't think
it felt like they came out with relative frequency. Relative frequency.
It's just 1 and 2 were quite close together. That was pretty much it.
Was there a third?
Well, the DS one.
No, that was the third. Okay. Yeah, it's been long enough now. Let's have another one.
When they need one for the 3DS system. I mean, come on. They made that whole dumb thing with the DS where they're like, the top screen is going to be Mode 7 for no apparent reason. But now they can actually have it be 3D.
Yeah. Do you think that perhaps they picked Fire Emblem because Fire Emblem it's always been a big seller in Japan, at least?
Yeah, but that doesn't make sense for them to... Well, I mean...
I don't know if it sells more or less than Advance Wars, but...
Yeah, but that doesn't really give Intelligent Systems any reason to pick that. I would imagine Advance Wars was probably at least, like, average in Japan.
Well, it might be something to do with, like, whatever the creators, I guess, are more fond of. I don't know. Fire Emblem seems to... seems to hold a slightly bigger nostalgic value, I think, to people. That's why it's in Smash Brothers more prevalently than...
But the real question is who was making Fire Emblem before? That they, did that company shut down or hand it off or whatever?
Maybe. Or was it always them?
Well, I don't think it was always them. I'm pretty sure this new one was, like, unusual in its advanced
Intelligent Systems.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. So they hadn't done that whole series?
I don't actually know. This is more theoretical news.
Maybe news!
The best kind.
News that you may believe.
Any other news?
I was just reading about this G-Sync thing. Have you seen this?
No. I saw someone mention it the other day, yeah.
Okay, so some NVIDIA have got this idea to like solve the whole VSync problem by
coming up with another thing.
By putting a chip in your monitor so your graphics card can tell your monitor when to refresh rather than it being independent.
Big freaking whoop, really.
I don't know. I think that sounds pretty clever and solves quite a big problem.
Well, what it actually does is make it so monitors are tied to fucking video graphics cards. It makes it even more annoying for the ATI NVIDIA crossover.
Well, that's true, but at least they're trying something to solve the quite glaring problem of
I never get screen tearing, even when I don't have VSync on. I've never had a problem with it.
What? Do you not? That's bizarre.
Or alternatively, I just don't notice it.
Unless your frame rate is so high that the change between the tear is so minuscule.
Well, if your frame rate is higher than 60, you might as well put VSync on. And the trouble is, if it ever dips below 60, it goes straight to 30.
Then you get real problems.
Yeah. And then if it goes below 30, it goes to like 15. So
wait, what? So this is like, what, if you VSync?
Yeah, if you VSync and you're
That's not how it works.
Yeah, it is. If your frame rate drops below the 60, then it goes straight to 30 to maintain the sync.
Pretty sure that's not how it works. I think it just like refresh. Well, maybe it will just wait. That's all it is. It's just waiting. It's not dropping to any arbitrary value. It's just saying, well, the frame's not ready, therefore I'm not going to just partially render. I'm just going to wait until
waiting.
The next full frame is ready. It's not dropping to any particular rate.
Well, that's the next rate down, even rate down, isn't it, from 60?
Because you can still VSync at 59, and it's just like you'll get one dropped frame a second, and it will just look like a micro. Well, if you can even notice that, it will just look like a micro stutter. You'll still be running at 59 frames visibly displayed. It's just that if one was slightly out and not ready, then it doesn't. It just I'm
surely
not
if you're if you're at 59 frames per second, it's not going to average out over the minute. It's like every single frame you're going to be late by 0.1 millisecond.
Yeah, I think that's what happens, is that the frames just become very slightly latent until you hit this mark where I'm a whole frame out. Then therefore I'll just skip that frame and render the next one.
But they can't, because then the gameplay will get out of sync with what's being shown.
By one frame, like over the course of that speed, that's hardly important.
More theoretical news. We don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
I'm pretty sure if the graphics card can't meet the deadline, then it drops all the way down to 30. I mean, you can see it happen. That's why games on consoles tend to lock to 30 or whatever, because they can't make 60. That's the choice. No one ever goes.
It's just sort of
in
a
between.
Consistency thing. I don't know. It does look kind of crappy if you like. But if you are going to that edge and your frame rate is bouncing all over the place, it is kind of annoying. I wouldn't say that's. It's just games look better if it's constant. That's why they make the conscious decision to drop to 30, because it's like if we could go fast in here, but it would look a bit weird if we did. It's like Infamous on PS3 isn't frame locked. It will drop to. It can run at 60 in very sparse environments, and it looks weird because it's kind of out of place with the rest of the game when it does that.
Right, it speeds up, right?
Yeah.
But you don't get the tearing because it suddenly goes from 30 to 60, which is
It's not exactly. It's sort of weirdly... it's like watching a transcoded video that's been like PAL to NTSC or something, or the other way around, where you end up with if it's done badly, you end up with a slight judder, like periodic, a very regular judder if it's at a dodgy frame rate, because that's where the slight is. The slight thing is.
Right, okay.
So there is a difference with like adaptive VSync. I don't know if that's where you're getting confused, where that makes where the video card makes a conscious decision to turn VSync on and off on the fly based on what it thinks the frame rate is.
That's kind of cool. I've never come across that. But I mean
NVIDIA's been doing that for a while.
That just means that when you drop below 60, you'll get screen tearing instead of dropping to 30, which is a bit lame because you don't want screen tearing.
Well, I think if you go over 60, as you said, it's kind of the differences becomes somewhat negligible, and it's so it may tear, but it will be an incredibly tiny tear.
Right. Okay.
Oh no! Wait, sorry, it's the other way around. No, you're right. They turn it off when you go down below a certain frame rate in order to keep latency up.
Exactly.
Sorry, or down, whichever way you want to talk about it. There.
Yeah. I'm pretty. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't understand how it works, but I think this G-Sync thing would allow you to run at 59 instead of 60, for example, and not have it tear or jerk. So that would be cool.
I don't think it's. Yeah, I don't know how to describe it. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it technically drops to 30 because your card is then wasting a lot of time.
Yeah, well, that's the trouble. That's why it's crap that your card has no control over the monitor, because there's nothing you can do.
No, definitely not.
If you run out of time to render the frame, you've got to skip a frame, and it happens every time because you can't reuse any of that work you've done from the previous frame because it's already stale. Even though it's only been 16 milliseconds. So if you go from 60 down to 59, you're wasting loads of work suddenly if you're using the V-Sync. It's a crappy situation.
I think it depends, like perhaps how far down you get. So I reckon at 59, you'll still look like it's running near 60. It's going to look smooth most of the time. Perhaps until it drifts half a frame out, then it realizes, oh crap, maybe this is where I need to skip for a bit.
Yeah. And, anyway, graphics.
Yeah. It's weird, but I wouldn't imagine it. I just haven't seen it just suddenly drop to a solid 30 from a solid 60. That just doesn't seem like something you would. It seems like something you would really obviously see.
Well, you do. Well, I've had it happen because not only do you see it, but I've had it. I've turned on fraps, and I've had it on my little keyboard monitor. I've got a little display of it, and when you turn on VSync, it does lock it, and then I've had it like drop off a cliff down to 30 from 60 when the VSync is on, which is really weird.
Maybe it's implementation or engine specific. I don't know.
Yeah, possibly. Probably.
I don't.
Well, Fraps locks the frame rate anyway when you're recording.
Yeah, I wasn't recording. Yeah, not recording. Yeah, I usually turn on Fraps when I'm playing a new game on the PC just to get the graphic settings reasonable. Because the tests are all very well demos that you can run, but often, in the case of something like World in Conflict, it's like this demo is way more than you actually need.
Well, not necessarily. I think the World in Conflict one was actually quite representative of the ridiculous number of particles you might fear in PC.
I suppose, maybe. Anyway, yeah. But I tend to see how it's going while I'm actually playing.
Well, that's why the World in Conflict benchmark was actually useful, because it was it actually had a graph and everything. It showed it over time, so you could be like, here's where the nuke goes off, where the frame rate plummets.
Yeah, so that's okay.
So you can look at your average instead of just trying to guess.
And that was the one where you could tank the frame rate by turning on DirectX 10, was it, at the time, or 11? I don't know. Yeah. Anyway.
Horrible terrain.
Yeah. All that craziness. It's weird how DirectX version numbers haven't really gone up. It seems like 9 is still the kind of... It's because of the Xbox, I guess, isn't it? That's not stuck on 9, isn't it?
I guess, but then what real new technology have they actually added?
I don't know.
To the pipeline. You got geometry shaders from DX11. DX10 maybe, I don't know. That were kind of an interesting deal that very few people have actually used.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder why. I wonder if what's the DirectX version for the Xbox One? Is it 11 or 12 or something?
It might be 12.
Okay.
Not sure.
Oh, there's other news. Windows 8.1 came out a couple of days ago.
True.
I think. Including IE 11, which has WebGL in it. So all the major browsers now have WebGL. So that could be good for gaming, even potentially in the future. Possibly. Yeah. I don't know what else about 8.1.
The weird, almost the first thing I saw after it had come out was how to get rid of the start button.
Naturally.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I'm because it's got the go straight to desktop thing where you don't have to see the start screen when you boot it up. Is that all it does? I don't know. They were talking about straight to desktop. Don't need the Metro interface. But I mean, is it worth upgrading from 7 at this point?
I still don't think so.
No, I'm sticking with 7. I like 7.
I mean, if you really, really want extremely fast boot speeds, then that's the one thing you will definitely get out of Windows 8.
Right, okay. Well, I've already got my SSD. It boots up fast enough.
So, yeah. Currently, I don't think there's any point at all.
Yeah. Okay, cool. It's good to know. I've been using OS 10 for the past at work.
How is that?
Well, it's okay. It's got Bash, which is awesome. But other than that, it's a bit annoying. I don't like the way... I saw that the new version is coming out next week, I think, or something. Mavericks, or whatever. I don't know when it's coming out. But anyway, it's got tabbed Finder. Finder is like Explorer, or, my computer. And I'm finding it very irritating that, I can't... Because the dock doesn't seem to show you each instance of Finder windows that you have open, so folders that you have open. So if you go to the dock and click on Finder, which has the little light on to say, you've got an open instance of this, it kind of just picks whatever the last one was and puts it, and you can't, I wanted that other folder, so then you have to kind of tab through and try and find the other folder that you have open. It's just, I don't like the Finder thing. It's a bit annoying.
No, I never really liked that.
No.
I want to find a file. Why are you making it so difficult for me to find an actual file?
And I still disagree fundamentally with the Mac way that has the menu for the thing disconnected from the thing itself and up in the... Do you know what I mean? Like the file menu or whatever is up across the whole top of the screen, which changes on focus of the window rather than being actually attached to the window. That's fine. But it just doesn't really make sense to me. Why can't it be attached to the thing that it's relevant to? Do you know what I mean? That's like the basic thing of Mac OS.
I guess. Sorry, you mean the yeah, I know what you're on about now. Sorry,
file edit, whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's so depending on which one you have focused, it changes the whole top bar of the whole screen to be the file menu or whatever for that.
You'd think that would be really inefficient, in a workflow way.
Yeah, well,
if you're not using every window full screen, you're just increasing the distance your mouse has to move.
Well, yeah, you do have to move, and the screen is... I've only got one screen, which is a bit weird for development, but it's freaking huge. It's 27 inch, and it's very high res, much higher than HD. So I can actually... the first thing I did was download a program that would let me do the Windows thing of shortcut keys to tile windows to the different segments of the screen,
Right.
Which isn't in Mac OS, but I mean, you have so much space that now I can tile the web browser to the right half of the screen and the IDE to the left half or whatever, and there's still space to do everything because it's so high res. But yeah, you're right. It is quite, I don't know, the file menu thing is quite irritating because you can't just go, say you're working on one, you've got one window in the bottom left and another window in the top right or something, and you've got focus on the bottom left window, but when you want to go to file or view or something on the top right, you have to click on the window to focus it and then move up to the top left of the screen to actually get the thing you want to do. So it's extra. It seems like there's a lot of extra work, but I mean...
And also menu bars seem to be somewhat dying in some programming tools anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I mean, not just programming tools. I mean, just UIs for applications in general. The menu is kind of a dying thing.
Yeah, well, the Microsoft Office, which I have for Mac on there, it has the ribbon and stuff. And that's actually attached to the window, obviously, because where else would they put it?
It kind of has to be.
Yeah, so that works. I mean, Office for Mac is obviously not as advanced as proper Office. It's fine, but I mean... there's little irritating things if you in Outlook, if you paste say you go, hello, here's that link that I found, and then you go carriage return twice, and then you paste the link in, and then you carriage return twice to say cheers, I'll see you later or something, then it continues the underline formatting from the link for some reason on that line that you're writing, and it's god damn it, what the hell? There's so many little weird things that are annoying me. I don't know. But anyway, Max, yes.
you sort of able to get stuff done, though? Despite
I can get stuff done. I mean, one thing is, I think that this thing hasn't got enough RAM in it, so I'm getting new RAM. Unfortunately, I thought that would be easy, but it turns out they use like a different number of pins from normal RAM, so you have to get like laptop RAM, even though it's a big iMac. It's like, great. That just makes it more difficult to find what you need unnecessarily.
Yeah, naturally.
But I think one of the most annoying things is, I don't know if this is a Mac thing, but you know, if you're typing something on Windows and the computer starts thinking or doing IntelliSense or whatever it is, or thinking, then it pauses, right, while it's thinking. But then after it's done working, like it's buffered up all the keys you pressed and it splurges them all out, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's remembered what you typed. Whereas it seems like on the Mac, when it starts thinking, it stops accepting input. So like,
I've noticed that about its UI in general. It's not like the events get queued.
Yeah,
events just get dropped on Mac.
Just get lost.
And I've noted, admittedly, that same thing was sort of the last time I really used Mac OS with any sort of frequency was probably about 7 years ago now.
Yeah,
and it would do that then if I accidentally made a setting change because I didn't like the way the mouse moved or something, and for some reason that took a while to set, then I wouldn't be able to do anything until it decided to do that. Admittedly, that was before like the age of dual core processors and stuff like that, so it actually probably could have logged, but even so, like it just wouldn't react. You'd have to come back to it and it wouldn't remember anything you did or anything you tried to do. It's I suppose in one way it's kind of safer because you don't just go click something a million times and then queue up a million events that it then tries to handle.
That's true. Maybe that's why they're doing it.
But in some cases it is pretty irritating. Perhaps like if the delay was short, it would queue stuff up and then after a while just drop that queue if something was taking too long. Perhaps that's a nice middle ground.
That would make sense. Something like that. Because currently I'm coming back to my workstation after, being at lunch or going for a drink or something. And then I immediately, the screen's gone blank or whatever because it's saving power or whatever. So I move the mouse and then I type in my password and hit enter. But of course it's thinking, so it doesn't manage to accept my whole password. So I have to kind of wait for the thing to wake itself up before I can even type in my password and get to my desktop. Mm. Like, that is clearly really bad UX, right? Like, what are they doing? Right. Anyway, maybe I just need more RAM and it'll go away. But either way, that's not been fun. But generally, like, all the tools, like I already use Sublime Text, for example, and Google Chrome and a shell. That's all I really need, and I've got all of that works fine. So yeah, it's okay for working. Anyway. Max.
So, while that conversation was going on, I've been fact checking.
Yeah.
So I've read two conflicting reports on how VSync works that seems to suggest that we're both right.
Okay.
But
because my ideas I got basically what I was telling you I got from an article I think by Digital Foundry, and I kind of trust what they say.
Yeah, true. I think I read that one, and they kind of said that the way it was. One of the ones I sort of came across said that it could drop to exactly 30, and then one was saying, "Well, you're going to get a slight judder." I think what happens is that I think you still end up being better than 30. Say you drop below 60, but you're in the good half. So, if say you went down to like above 45, then you're still going to be getting more than 30 frames because of the way the timing happens to work out. As soon as you drop below that 45. Then you're at most going to be getting 30.
Okay.
That's something like that. There's some weird sort of middle ground where, because it is still rendering faster than it is, it could still fit in a whole frame render between a refresh,
monitor refresh.
Yeah, just because of the way it just happens to sit. There are times where that could happen, and it's I think so. Yeah, we're kind of both right on that. It goes my way up to a point, and then it goes your way.
Right. Okay.
So great success. I also stumbled upon something that says Drive Club it's not been officially delayed, but internal sources are currently saying, it's been delayed.
Okay.
So maybe we were right on Drive Club.
But you haven't gone far enough back in the news to get to where the Ubisoft announcement.
Yeah.
So keep going, I guess.
I'll keep going. There's the little stupid thing that, about the PlayStation 4 has a red line of death, except it's not the red line of death, it's just a heat warning. It's not like I'm dying.
Okay.
But that is exactly what it's like.
Well, it's not, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I'm dying, I'm not dead.
Yeah, because the green, the what's it called? The thing of the circle of doom.
Yeah, the red ring.
The red ring of death, that's the one. That meant it was bricked, effectively, until it got sent back to the factory. Yeah, so hopefully nothing like that from the next generation. That isn't caused by...
I'm pretty sure it's unavoidable. It's kind of sensible, really. Like, if the thing overheats, it goes into a state where it's like, all right, I've overheated. Well, maybe it isn't sensible. Like,
iPhones do that, don't they?
Yeah, but they don't. They let you turn it on yourself. It's like when a red ring occurred, it just remembered the fact that it's like, I've been overheated at some point. Therefore, someone needs to look at me before I will run again.
Oh, right. So.
I think that's for the majority cases. That's kind of what it was. I think something overheated, so it puts itself in this state, and then doesn't let you get back in. But they sort of changed that with the firmware, the later ones, so the firmware can detect overheat states and stop a game, and you'll get a warning on screen.
Well, that's much better. You need a safe mode or whatever.
Yeah, kind of. So you can boot up and or just have it self-diagnose. Maybe it's like, all right, let me just run some tests for a while, see if I can figure out if it is an overheating issue or something like that, or are you just keeping me in a box? I don't know. It needs sensors all around it and goes, oh, I'm in a box. Fuck.
Oh dear.
I'm going back through the news to see if we've got anything right.
Okay. Do we get
the crew has also been delayed.
Oh,
so I think both may be right again.
Yeah,
right. We're doing well here. For our hypothetical news, it's actually turning out to be real.
Bodging our way through this shit, pretty good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're doing a remake of Gabriel Knight.
Really?
Which, with nice, like the Monkey Island remakes with the HD-ified graphics. They're doing that for Gabriel Knight, so Laura was excited about that. So that's
pretty cool. There's an Angry Birds kart racer.
Of course there is.
Woo.
Is it any good?
I don't know. I think it's just been announced. I don't think it's anywhere.
The weapon's going to be firing more birds out of your car.
Yeah.
Is that actually made?
Birds driving the cars, firing birds into cars.
Yeah.
Wouldn't they just take over the car and do like some weird driver swapping mechanic? Fling yourself into the opponent's car up ahead.
Is it being made by Rovio or whoever it is?
I have no idea. Didn't look that much into it, to be honest.
Right.
Okay. So I didn't think it was that interesting.
No.
No, I was just wondering. I mean, they do make good mobile games, I guess. By all accounts, the Angry Birds space is quite good, I guess.
Yeah, that sounds kind of cool. Like, gravity mechanics, I guess. So.
I saw a couple of videos of, new Peggle 2, which looks the same.
Yeah.
Sort of.
But except they've made Bjorn headbang.
That's right, yeah. All the characters are, huge on the side of the screen.
Yeah, it's a bit weird, that. I suppose, on the Xbox version or on widescreen things, there was just a giant buffer zone around the outside of the game. The game was designed for squares.
Yeah,
square screen display, and they're still doing that, it seems. So
yeah, apparently.
So they've got all this, but they've just moved it all over to one side, so they've got more space down one of the edges to put giant character art in. But that's great.
That looks like it's probably news, judging by Rob's rapid scrolling through news. Haven't seen anything else of interest.
Well, Beyond Two Souls came out.
That's true.
And that might also be poop like Sonic.
Yeah, it's getting higher reviews than Sonic is, but...
Yeah, I don't know, it looked okay.
Well, yeah, people seem to be saying that, it's hard to judge what your actions, what the consequences of your actions, if they even matter at all. Anything you do make a choice on, perhaps it doesn't seem like it has as much of an impact as perhaps it feels it should.
Right. More so than Heavy Rain? Or...
Yeah, I mean, it has a lot of endings, but it's not as clear, where your choices make a difference, I think, is where people are stumbling.
Okay.
So maybe they do, but maybe people just haven't played it enough by the time the reviews come out to make a sort of informed decision on some of that. I don't know. Hard to tell. It's a very hard thing to judge, I guess, with a game of that length until play it through a few times. And people are saying that some people just don't find the story very engaging and a bit shit gravy.
Well, it's like people sort of saying. Well, apart from the people saying that it's just bad, and it's also like just basically giant cliches all over the place.
Yeah,
and therefore incredibly predictable. But then the other thing I've seen people mainly saying is just like because they jump back and forth through time, it kind of makes it so there's no suspense to anything you're doing either. Because it's like I've already seen what happens after this, so this doesn't matter clearly.
I guess, yeah. Like there's a tricky route to go, I guess. How can you have consequence in the future if you've already seen what is ahead of time of what you're doing? So it's unless the only thing you could really do is like perhaps say this you're going to see this character in the future and he's going to be slightly pissed at you, or he's not going to like you.
But you've already seen whether he's pissed or not.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. It's kind of crazy. And some people said that sort of like the way you swap to Aiden, or the ghost character, to do things is sometimes a little. Or when the game decides you can and can't do that, is sometimes a little not intuitive.
When it will just be like.
Now you must use the ghost.
Now you can use the invincibility power that you couldn't before when you were actually in more danger.
like it doesn't occasionally make much sense.
Okay.
It's like they're just using things for like, this works in this particular scenario, but it wouldn't be very interesting if we did it now, because otherwise you could just be invincible the whole fucking time. Yeah. And it's like, and of course they never explain any of that. Right? So the worst thing.
Look, then, Rob.
Yeah, I am, because I really liked Heavy Rain, and that's kind of struck the same controversial chords. But even for the people that played Heavy Rain and kind of liked it, they're sort of saying that perhaps this isn't as good as as an experience. But I'm still kind of interested in the technical side of it, because it was, as I say, that thing looked hella impressive.
Well, surely it's probably got better acting than Heavy Rain, you'd think.
That's the one thing that's been universally praised, is that the level of the obvious Ellen Page and Willem Dafoe powerhouses definitely do their part, and it's they lift the scenes.
Cool, that's good, because you could easily have someone like Willem Dafoe kind of phone it in for a video game.
I think it's generally accepted that they are fantastic, and the acting in general is much improved. It's just put into something that perhaps just doesn't work quite so well.
Okay. Where do they go from here, though? I don't know.
It's like watching most James McAvoy films, I guess, in a way. It's like,
well, have you heard?
It's like I always think he does a really good job. I just don't tend to like many of the films he's in.
Well, there's a super extreme version of that's out now. Did you watch it? Have you seen it then? Is that what you're talking about?
What, Filth?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, I've seen Filth.
All right.
It's a bit of filth. Of course I've seen Filth. It's got filth in the name.
I wouldn't know. Because that sounded a bit grim, but he's supposed to be good.
It is quite grim. He plays it very well, but I can't say I really enjoyed that film, because it's just a bit...
too grim.
There's nothing to latch onto. There's nothing...
Yeah, that's what I heard.
There's nothing to like. And that's kind of the... that's probably a personal gripe for me. Like, I need something to latch onto, something to root for, and there's none of that in this.
I mean, have you seen the obvious touch point comparison, Trainspotting? Have you seen Trainspotting?
No, I haven't seen Trainspotting.
I would recommend watching that, because that's like Filth, but it does have something you can attach to. So yeah, it's Danny Boyle. So, but it's the same writer, the same author that the film is based on as Filth, I think. Yeah, it's set in Edinburgh, the same, but obviously,
it's kind of a. Filth is kind of a classic Coen Brothers film in that it has no point. It's not trying to make a point. It's just trying to tell a dumb story.
Yeah,
that doesn't really have much meaning, or doesn't necessarily carry a meaning. I mean, their most extreme example of that is Burn After Reading, which is the most pointless story, but it's quite entertaining for it.
Yeah, that's all right.
It plays up to that the whole time, that everything is really dumb. And it works pretty well.
Yeah.
In this case, it's just used to. It's the same pointlessness, but used to depressing effect.
Right. Okay. Have you seen No Country for Old Men?
No, again, that was another film I kind of wanted to see, but I think Gnome has boycotted that. Like, she was made to watch it as part of an English thing at school, apparently, and it just doesn't like it. It really doesn't like it, so right.
Like anything that you ever do in English at school.
Yeah.
It takes it forever.
Yeah.
She kind of watched that at school, though, because she's older than us, right? Slightly, or the same?
1 year older than us.
Yeah, because No Country for Old Men I watched in cinema at university. So... can't be that one.
Oh well, no, she did. Well, she did do media studies sort of thing, didn't she? At uni, so it could have been.
Maybe it's at uni.
Not school.
Yeah, probably at uni. Yeah,
I don't know. Anyway,
that makes more sense.
For that reason, I think it's that anyway.
Okay, cool.
It's
theoretical news.
There were two or three. Yeah, there were 2 or 3 films that came out about that time that were kind of in a similar vein, weren't they? The sort of like Western, semi-industrial age stuff. So maybe yeah. Well,
that's what it was.
Maybe we're getting confused with the other one, whatever the fuck that was.
Yeah.
Is it Daniel Day-Lewis in No Country? Or?
No, that's There Will Be Blood, isn't it?
Maybe it's that then.
Oh, that's the one that's the one in the oil boom or whatever. So that kind
that's
of
one
is
with the
Western.
milkshake scene, right?
Yeah. I drink your milkshake and all that.
I'll drink your milkshake.
That was really long. I saw that at university too, but yeah. That was...
Maybe it was that. Well, she's just turned up.
So that's live news.
Very important.
Was it No Country for Old Men you really didn't like, or is it There Will Be Blood?
She doesn't know.
Was it Daniel Day-Lewis or the dude from Men in Black?
No Country for Old Men.
Oh, if it's Daniel Day-Lewis, then it's There Will Be Blood.
Daniel Day-Lewis did perform really badly in No Country for Old Men, apparently.
Were they both about oil?
No Country for Old Men is about a psycho killer played by Javier Bardem, and it had
I think it's There Will Be Blood.
Tommy Lee Jones as well.
Tommy Lee Jones?
In
No, it's not that one.
Okay, okay.
So in summation, we have no idea.
Okay,
it's There Will Be Blood.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, good.
Although Noma's just sort of like gone, yeah, I don't think it is.
Okay.
Well, fuck.
Yeah, that was very helpful. Even the person who we were talking about has no idea what we were talking about.
Anyway.
It's not going so well.
Beyond Two Souls. It's a video game.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I might give it a miss and play it later, like I did with Heavy Rain this time.
Yeah, okay.
I'm after all those reviews, perhaps I'm not quite so excited about it as before.
You can't.
I've still got too many games that came out this year to actually play. And I think perhaps I can.
Yeah, but maybe that one's important.
Wait,
well.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe everyone's wrong.
But we can rely on Eddie, who will definitely.
There Will Be Blood.
It is There Will Be Blood. Decided.
Okay, good.
Okay. But you might be unplugging your PS3. Well, who knows?
Yeah.
Well, I won't be for a while. No, my Xbox will probably get unplugged first.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Gnome just walked off in the distance going, it's awful!
Well, there will be blood. Yeah, that is quite long, to say the least.
She's also lamenting that because Zach is here, we can't have Chinese tonight. Because he doesn't like Chinese.
Okay.
Dear me.
Speaking of food, let's move this along. We've been recording for an entire hour and we've talked about virtually nothing.
Okay.
The best and theoretically nothing.
Okay, let's move on to what you've been playing then, shall we, Zach?
Did you notice, just a random aside, did you notice on Steam the number of old PC games that suddenly have cropped up in the last week?
I would say a number.
Like 7th Guest, 11th Hour, both turned up.
That's old.
Yeah,
that's like
really
95
old. Startopia frickin' turned up.
Yeah, but as I said, that's no effort because apparently that last time I checked, that still works on Windows 7.
All right, cool.
Well, I'm glad that's available.
IDOS being we need some money.
Well, yeah.
We might as well squeeze some more money out of this.
After the failure that was the millions of sales they got out of Tomb Raider, jeez.
Yep.
Random other thing. Did you see that the Sun accidentally got... I mean, this is I think this is very, very, very old news, but someone reposted it on Facebook, and I didn't hear about this before. The Sun apparently got Sarif Industries from Deus Ex confused for a real company.
Oh, right, yeah, well.
And, used a render of their, ocular augmentations to like as just to say these things are crazy. They exist, man.
Right.
Really dumb.
Okay. Cool.
I just sort of saw that and thought, really? Okay.
Yeah.
And then I went to the because obviously they set up a proper website for Seraph Industries that you can still go to, and it's like, how could did no one fact check this? Because you go there and it's blatantly like a marketing thing because it presents itself kind of nice, except for the page is like apparently been hacked by like the anti-augmentation movement. That's what it's called but yeah, and so the opening video is all kind of like, they're fucking with us. They're stealing our humanity and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, yeah, you could just go to one trip to the website would have solved that.
I don't like how like they talk about Deus Ex Universe now or whatever. Like they want to plan games and other media, but like they focus so heavily on it with Human Revolution. Well, it's right there in the title, but like it seems to me like they took Deus Ex, which had so many awesome ideas and like cool themes, and they just picked one theme, which was the augmentation versus natural.
That
people
wasn't even
thing.
in the original Deus.
Yeah, that wasn't even. It was barely in the first one.
It was like mechanical augmentation versus nano augmentation.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, exactly. And then they amplified that to be like the whole point of everything, which I think was a mistake because like Deus Ex had loads of cool stuff going on because it was an realistic future.
The Human Revolution idea is a good.
Yeah, it's a pretty good theme.
But not the Deus Ex theme. They could have just made another game that had that theme.
Well, no, but maybe that's where, the Deus Ex, as you say, has a lot to pull from. Perhaps by focusing on one of the themes in focus. That it gives them more to then pull from for the sequels.
Mm. Yeah.
Because they can just pull from another theme that was in the original.
But they're not going, it seems like they're carrying on with this theme.
Mm. Yeah. I don't know. I quite like it as a thing. It's kind of neat. They could do some real neat stuff if they get all political with it.
Yeah. Well, that's just my personal feeling on the matter. Anyway, yes.
So corrections column.
Oh God.
After we've already corrected.
What have we done now?
Well, this is from the Eurovalve episode. Kippers apparently wants to correct me that Killer Instinct apparently does run at 60 frames per second, and I was incorrect in my thoughts that it ran at 30. And it's like, I don't remember it running that smoothly, so maybe that's like something maybe that's something they've improved, or perhaps the build they were running there and I played wasn't as good, or maybe that was just the jerkiness of the sort of fight style animation, where you get that slight pause when something connects, but I don't know. Apparently I'm wrong. So,
okay.
It's a rarity, I know, but and there was something else he mentioned. Fuck it, it's on the comments on the site. Go look. I got something else wrong.
Okay, good.
The GTA Online happened.
Why are we talking about that?
Yeah,
because that's news. That happened.
That's news. I haven't tried it, so I can't give you any.
Okay. I was just like, did they fix the sort of character deletion bugs they've been having?
Yeah, they fixed a bunch of bugs, and then they gave everyone like $1 million or something, in-game quid.
Yeah.
£1.
Yeah. It seems like the story of that is, if you basically the world that you go around, with the other people in it, is effectively like a lobby for missions. And these are new missions. So like, there's loads of content, I think. But anyway, it seems like anyone you meet just murders you instantly. That seems to be how it works.
Yeah.
Anyway,
no real camaraderie.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't quite get the point in the hub because it's like, other than just being a chaos simulator, like, what is the point in it?
What's the point? Yeah, I don't know. Well,
and you can. There's the stupid things about you being able to lose any of the cash or a significant portion of the cash you're carrying if you get killed before reaching an ATM, and it's like, I don't know. There's mechanically, it's just the whole thing seems real dumb to me. Like, I've
never really been big into any GTA multiplayer, or even, I mean, the Red Dead multiplayer was kind of okay.
It was kind of fun. Yeah. It was kind of dumb, but that was kind of why it worked. It was a stupid throwaway thing.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe this is along the same Well, I don't know.
I don't know. It just seems way too big to be like considered a throwaway thing.
Well, there's a lot to it in terms of content of like missions and stuff. Like that's the bit that interests me. But then
there's some other shit with like the missions and stuff. So if you get into a lobby of people and you do a mission and you want to stay with those people, you can't unless you do like a team deathmatch or a skanky sort of more traditional multiplayer thing. There's no way to just take that lobby through to another mission.
Right.
Apparently. And even the things that are labelled mission aren't actually the full sort of structured missions. They're just that's actually like a game type or of some kind, or is a mislabeling. But it's like it just seems like there's a whole lot of really weird choices in that.
Okay, well I'll have to. I don't know if I could be bothered to actually give it a go, but maybe I will for journalism's sake.
I don't know what the draw is. It's like
I'm playing the single player, so but It sounds interesting, at least. You know, it's better than nothing, I suppose.
True.
So.
Oh, but then what if they'd spent the time they spent working on the multiplayer making more of the single player?
I think you'll find the single player has plenty of time and effort put into it. To say the least.
They came out and said that it's like 100 hours minimum to do everything in that game.
Well, for whatever you define everything as.
Perhaps to get the 100% rating that they always put in their games.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think it would take that long to get to the end of the story if you ignored everything. It would probably be pretty quick. Like it'd be certainly longer than a Call of Duty, but I don't know, maybe
like
30 hours? Yeah, 20. 20. No, I don't know. Yeah, 20 maybe. If you boost through it, I would have thought. Not that I've got through it, but just from the feeling of the way it's going, I mean, it seems like there aren't that many. Understandably, because they're totally awesome, but probably really hard to design. There aren't actually that many of the heists. I don't know how many there are. 6
or something.
Right. I guess they're kind of like.
Dunno.
I guess they're kind of like Zelda dungeon equivalents or whatever. It's like you get so many. So, and I've done like 3, so I must be like halfway. Yeah. Anyway,
are you getting the burnout yet? Or? Like a lot of people seem to be saying, it's like you just get to a point and it's just like this isn't actually that. You know, the draw goes.
I'm not finding that, not yet. But maybe it's because I've been spacing it out because I've been moving and stuff. But yeah, I'm certainly still like it. Are we on to what I've been playing? I was going to go with Zach.
Just in general, Go with Zach. Come on, bring it, Zagel.
I've played tons of stuff. This podcast is going to be hella long.
Okay. Are you playing Kerbal Space Program? Because I saw
there's that.
Okay, I want to try that.
Yeah, you should actually probably try that again.
Do you think I should?
Well, the trouble with it was I was like, yeah, that would be totally a good reason to tell Dad to get back in there because it's like, you know, an actual thing to do, I guess, now. There's like structure now that they've added the first pass on the career mode.
Yeah.
But the trouble is, it's like, it's kind of awesome, the idea that you have limited parts or whatever, and then you have to like build up your science resource to unlock more parts up this tech tree.
Right.
But that just makes it actually really hard. It's like you start the game with virtually nothing, and you're like struggling, because, well, the idea with the science is like, basically you have certain modules that can give you science, and like your crew can just do a report that gives you a little bit of science as well.
Okay.
But then you want to like do the science and the reports in different locations, because then that gives you essentially new science, so you get the full bonus again. But if you repeat the same science over and over, you get, you know, progressively less and less.
Diminishing returns.
From doing the same thing.
Yeah, okay.
So it's like, you're trying to do, it's like you can get some right at the start, you know, because you're like, this is all new, I can do this thing on the launch pad and I'll still get some science. But then, like, because you've got such limited parts, you're like, I'm actually really struggling to get anywhere new to do science to unlock new parts.
Oh, right. So what? The progression balance isn't there yet.
Well, maybe it's just, or maybe because you don't want to have to grind it. You don't want to just be like, put a thing in orbit, get as much science as you can, and then just do that over and over.
No, because I guess that diminishes.
Launches.
I guess that diminishes the sort of point of Kerbal, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's just to experiment and muck around.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to ever repeat anything. You always want to be progressing forwards, but then
you want the game to be forcing you to do something different.
Yeah, it's like if you get to the point where you're like, well, I can just about make it to the moon, so I can get the moon science, but then I'm like, well, I can't land on the moon with what I've got. I need some more science to unlock some more parts to be able to actually do that. So I can't really progress. I just have to do some more flights that just trundle around the moon a few more times, I guess.
Is it not because could you fit different like data gathering stuff? Is that something perhaps that's you reckon is coming? Like,
well, no, because you unlock.
So I'll orbit the moon and I'll like survey the surface. Oh, it's like crap. We haven't got enough stuff. This time we have to go and like take up some other readings.
Well, you unlock the science modules as you go as well. So it's like, do you want to prioritize going down the tree that gives you more modules for science?
Yeah. They perhaps should have like more awkward requirements as you go along to like try and force you to build different ways and.
Well, I mean, that's like
one of them should be just a giant ball or something that's just a really awkward thing to place somewhere and is heavy or...
That should be the actual... It's like career mode in this as it is now, where it's just like you just have to get the science to unlock new parts. That's sort of not really a career mode either. That's just like another kind of sandbox. It's like they need that, but then also like missions on top of that. So like when you get to certain points in the tech tree, there should be missions associated with that tech level.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, obviously this is literally
only
the first part of career.
Okay.
Do you reckon there should be perhaps like a combination of like science and some other thing that you get from the missions then? Because the missions wouldn't necessarily give you science, I guess, or is it just like so you have like some sort of multi-tiered resource?
Well, they still haven't implemented the cost of parts being a thing yet.
Right.
So if they do that will be another layer of difficulty, I suppose.
So
you can make everything harder.
So you can
do this, but it's not worth very much to us. Do it on the cheap.
Is it just the availability of the parts then?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so you can put as many of as you want of anything that you have unlocked.
Yes.
Okay. So
and I think maybe the other problem with it is that, like the tech tree is. I don't agree very much with the order of the tech tree.
Oh, right.
Like,
okay.
Well, the main problem is that if you want, when you get the science modules and you activate them in space or whatever, and it gives you some science, it doesn't actually give you.
Love all this, like, gives you science.
That's just what it's called.
Science.
It's like the module. You either have to return that module to the planet and recover the vehicle, and that gives you full, like, all of the science. All of the science. Or if you have an antenna, you can transmit it and you get like 20%. And it's like, that's just not worth.
That's rough.
Always try and return your module, especially in the early stages. You're like, you have so little potential to get science. You want to get as much as you can.
Can there like eventually be a better antenna that gives you more of the science back?
Maybe I don't know what the effect of the antennas actually is yet.
Because unless it's like you're acquiring moon rocks, surely.
Well, yeah, I mean that's obviously a thing
to
bring samples back. That makes sense. But then when it's just like a science module that does an experiment where it's like, let's expose this to vacuum, the fact that you have to bring that module all the way back to the planet to get the full science out of it is really dumb. And then, of course, the actual tech tree, it's like you start with one antenna, but then you don't start with batteries or solar panels. So
you can't send anyone.
So you can only do one transmission per flight, basically.
Oh, okay. Right.
So you have to find out where on the tech tree it is. Like, where the fuck do I go down this tech tree to get some solar panels? God damn it.
Yeah, weird.
So it doesn't show you the tech tree? It's not got any like UI for that?
I mean, you know, you can choose which part of the tech tree to unlock, but you can't see what's ahead of you.
Yeah.
You can only see the next thing.
I kind of think that this Kerbal's going to struggle with this, like just in general. It sounds like actually it's a real quite difficult problem.
Well, yeah.
Like trying to put in some kind of progression system into...
I mean, it is a balance thing of like... You don't just want to give loads of science for the easy things, because but then when at the start of the game, that's all you can do.
I do wonder if perhaps it should have been more, like, instead of like a progressionary mode, maybe a bit more of just a challenge. Like perhaps the first thing they should try is just a series of like special challenges. Yeah, so you're put in a certain scenario with, and it's like, here's the stuff you can use, here's how much money you can spend.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff. Like you need to get.
Well, obviously, this was a lot easier than that. I mean, this is just putting an unlock over each of the parts.
Yeah, true. It requires a little less thought, I guess.
Less effort. Pro tip: when you're trying to maximise your science potential for a mission, you can you can right-click on your command pod to get a crew report, which is worth, like, nothing. And just says something generic, like, it's hella space out here. It doesn't actually say that, but I think it should. That'd be quite better.
So much space.
But that's like worth nothing. But if you go EVA and do an EVA report, that's worth a lot more science. And if you're doing an EVA report, the EVA report counts differently when you're in orbit for each different type of terrain you're over.
Oh, right. How do you know what type you're over? So pro tip,
if you want to get some more science easily.
So is it just the sea and land, or is it like...
there's like deserts and mountains count as well, and the ice caps, of course.
Okay.
So it's like, pro tip if you want science faster, but don't bother with regular crew report, just open the door, climb outside, and then look at the planet, and then climb back inside. And the EVA report is a stored report, so that just stores in the command module, so you can bring down a load of that at once, and just get all of them. For like every type of terrain you flew over, you can store the reports.
So you go around the planet finding all the terrain types and getting out each time.
Yeah.
And making
it's really dumb. I don't know why that's not just the regular crew report. It's like, why is the EVA report different at all?
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess like EVA when you're historically like a hard thing to do.
Well, yeah, but it's totally not a kernel.
Yeah.
And also when you land on the planet, when you land, obviously you can do a surface sample even on Kerbin, so you can just pick up like some snow and be like, science.
I've never seen the snow up there because it appears that the space station is all that exists on Kerbin.
Well, they're planning to put cities and stuff eventually, supposedly.
Well, they already improved the space center, didn't they?
Yeah, and the space center.
It looks actually quite cool now. Doesn't
Always pick up a sample when you get to the planet. And do an EVA report when you're just standing there and be like, I don't really need this spacesuit, do I?
I think they should put in the like water tower and like all the masses of steam thing that you get from a real rocket launch. Well, not all of them, but the main one, the big ones.
They actually like when they were doing the revamp of the space station, they actually took out things like the launch tower because it just got in the way.
Yeah, that's true. They did.
Eventually, that's something that they could like let you build.
Yeah, like just make it like a launch clamp, only better.
Yeah, so it doesn't necessarily affect it, or has the ability to sort of just boost itself out of the way.
So yeah, that's Kerbin, I guess. I accidentally did an awesome mission where I got up the tech tree not quite far enough to land, but I was like, I can get some more science if I just get out of Kerbin's influence into a solar orbit, because that's a new environment, so I'll get some more science and I can just transmit it back with like an automated probe. Where I only get like 20% of the science, but it will be new science. So I did that, and so I fired off a probe that did a moon slingshot to get out of Kerbin's influence into a solar orbit. And then when I got there, I was like, I might actually have enough fuel to get to one of the other planets. And then I did that, and I was like, holy shit, this is actually awesome. I've got to a totally different planet. And then when I got to the planet, I was like, I might actually have enough fuel to get into an orbit and get a high orbit and low orbit pair of science for that as well. And I was like, holy shit, I had enough fuel for that as well. And I was like, I've still got some fuel left. Fuck it, let's try and land. And then I did a really, really dumb landing where when I was in this super ridiculous elliptical orbit where it was like only just over the atmosphere at one end and about 50 million miles away on the other end. So I just stopped and fell straight down because this was the planet that has like super dense atmosphere, so I knew it'd slow me down a lot.
Okay.
And so I was coming down. This thing doesn't even have landing legs because I haven't unlocked those. So I was trying to land perfectly vertically and just drop it onto the engine. So I was coming down, like burning the last of my fuel. And it was like, oh, this is going to be close. And then at the last possible moment, I ran out of fuel and was going like twice as fast as I needed to be to survive, and only the command module survived because everything else blew up and acted as like a crumple zone. I was like, awesome. Well, I guess I can't get any science because all my science blew up.
But your dude survived, did they?
Well, no, it wasn't. It was robotic.
Oh, right, okay.
But luckily, so obviously I'd already transmitted all the other science at this point for like all the other various points in this thing where it counted as a different environment. So I got quite a lot of science off that mission accidentally, where it's like, I wasn't even intending to go to this other planet, but bonus, I guess.
I kind of would think, like, if you're using the unmanned probes, that perhaps you shouldn't be able to fly them. Like, you should just tell them what to do and hope for the best.
Well, I mean, that's what they are doing, essentially. I mean, you're commanding them directly,
but they'd be like, you should have like latency. And
well,
stuff.
Yeah, but if you really want, if in that case, it should actually be better to be fully robotic because you can just plot in a course and it would do it exactly.
Oh yeah, but that'd be the thing. That'd be like some of the things they could tech up because you could like have to have like, oh, this is a shit one, and then
yeah, I guess
then eventually you get pretty good ones, but they will never beat a human or something like your manual control.
Which means you would.
But I don't know. I think that'd be a bad, perhaps for some things, but perhaps for like direct control and stuff, you need where you can do better than the AI. Then you need to have some dudes.
I don't think that's ever the case. I'm pretty sure in virtually all cases, like AI controlled would be better than doing it manually. Isn't that the case in real life, really?
Maybe. I don't know. It would be better as a gameplay mechanic.
Well, yeah.
That way. That's what I mean.
Yeah, because that's the thing about Kerbal. It's like, even in the early 60s, they had like a computer that worked out how long the burn needed to be and actually did it.
Yeah. So that's that. That was a dramatic sudden patch where I also streamed it. So you can go and watch that hilarious planet crash. And then what else? Well, before that, there was another dramatic patch of Terraria 1.2. Which was a lot of stuff in Terraria. Because it was the classic where it's like, they'd said that they were done with Terraria, and that was it. That was before the Xbox version came out. And then the Xbox version came out, and everyone was pissed because the Xbox version had new stuff in it. And then apparently they decided to come back to Terraria and update it some more. I don't know how much of it is stuff that was in the Xbox version and ported back over, or whether it is, because there is some actually new stuff for the PC version. But yeah, there's more of that. So I started over again, naturally.
As you do.
And then didn't actually get to really any of the new stuff, of course.
How far do you need to get before you get to the new stuff?
It's not that far for some of it, but then, like, obviously quite a lot of it is, like, late game stuff again. Although I did find an annoying thing that they changed, which would probably really suck if you're playing on hardcore mode where your characters die permanently. Because it's like it's not like I hadn't died at all up to this point, but I'd gotten to the point where it changes the world into the hard mode, where like after you defeat what is essentially the final boss of normal mode, it transitions into hard mode, and then all the normal enemies get harder and all that kind of stuff, and you get new resources. But one of the things they changed for new hard mode is now the hard mode bosses will just fucking spawn. So on the first night when I transitioned into hard mode, the hardest of the hard mode bosses spawned directly on me and just murdered my face instantly because I wasn't, I didn't have any of the new stuff. Like, that would suck if I'd been playing a hardcore character.
Yeah.
So yeah. And then I stopped playing that really because I don't know, I got tired of it. But even though I hadn't actually got to any of the new stuff, I had explored quite a lot of the world, admittedly. Just going through caves and looking for new stuff. And I got new, like, items. But then there's stuff where they've actually sort of introduced a more gated progress element to it. Like, there's a big ass temple in the jungle that has a door that you can't get through until you defeat one of the hard mode bosses that gives you a key. So it's like there's actual reason to... It's not just for, for shits and giggles. You actually have to kill these bosses to unlock some more stuff. Oh, and the other thing they changed in Terraria is they made it so you can walk up one tile high blocks and slopes.
Oh, that's cool. No more jumping. Although you probably still have to jump for a lot.
Yeah, it's quite a lot. But then it's like... what was funny about it is that immediately after the 1.2 patch came out, there was a news story that was like, the guy who makes Terraria says there's a Terraria 2 coming. And it's like, have you maybe not realised that Starbound is not very far away and it's totally just this game again?
Yeah, good luck. Is this going to be the start of like a real horrible rivalry? Yeah, it's like, or maybe it will just be the Torchlight 2 Diablo 3 hilarious situation where Terraria 2 will come out before Starbound. Because that seems quite likely by the way it's been going. They're still not in beta, and they pretty much officially moved the release date to 2014. Well, that seemed inevitable.
Yeah. We kind of knew that in like August when it was like, where the fuck is the beta?
Yeah.
And it's still, where the fuck is the beta?
Inevitable.
So, yeah. That's Terraria. And then there was something in between Terraria and Kerbal.
Dwarf Fortress.
No. Although I have been tempted. But there still hasn't been an actual new release for that for ages. So that's why I haven't been going back. Because it's like, I'll go back as soon as you fix some of these goddamn bugs that I know about, the ones that I care about, all the military shit. I played quite a lot of Super Hexagon because I was like, God damn it, I'm going to actually do this, and then actually started getting better at it. But now I have the really dumb, I have the first, second, fourth, and fifth achievement because I can't do the third level. It's like I've done Hexagon and I've done Hexagoner, but I can't do Hexagonist. But then I did Hyper-Hexagon and Hyper-Hexagoner because those are actually easier than Hexagonist. And I was like, well, fuck. It's mainly because the Hyper versions, obviously, you sort of already know the patterns.
Right,
from the non-Hyper versions.
Yeah.
And also, well, I guess this isn't actually hindering me, but it might help, is like some of the patterns in the Hyper-Hexagon are like sort of similar to ones in Hexagonist, so I'm using that as practice.
I see.
But it's still not enough. And also I realised why it always seems difficult, why it always seems like dramatic tension when you're getting to like the last, because it goes up, your progress is gated by when the woman says the name of it's like point, line, triangle, and you're like, fuck yes. But then I realised why it always seems like it's really annoying when you get to square, pentagon, and hexagon, because it's not a linear scale, and I just hadn't noticed. It's like line is at 10 seconds, triangle is at 20 seconds, square is at 30 seconds, but then pentagon is 45 seconds. So it is actually longer.
Yeah.
And then it seems like it, and you're like, struggling. And then so that's actually why it seems more difficult. So yeah.
I suppose you have to convey that feeling in some way other than my eyes are melting.
Yeah. So there was that. Played quite a bit of that. Dramatically. And then the other third big huge thing I've spent too much time on. Also, this is sort of related to Terraria and this next game, is that I've been listening to tons of goddamn podcasts because I was like, I'm finally going to clear out this goddamn podcast folder I've got where I just saved a bunch of them and I can't remember why.
Okay. What podcast though?
Just podcasts mostly.
Oh right.
Just tons of them. So I've been like grinding through those. I'm almost done.
Archiving.
Yeah, I'll be free of that massive pile of files. So
are you like clipping them for the bits that you actually remembered keeping them for, or?
No, I'm not clipping them. I'm just saving the whole thing. If it like,
it's interesting.
This is an awesome bit. But then, so yeah, we go through that, and then the other game that I've been playing whilst doing that has been quite a bit of SimCity.
Really?
Yes. Because
so what's going on with SimCity?
Not really
they
anything.
Announced like a weird expansion or something.
Yes, they've announced their expansion, but let's not talk about that because fuck that and fuck them.
That's the Red Cross thing, wasn't there?
I'll ignore that as well.
Yeah.
It's doesn't even be worth talking about.
Because didn't they say relatively recently that they are actually now working on offline mode for realsies?
Well, basically what happened was they did several sort of previews for the expansion. They were doing like a news post every week or whatever. I mean, they have been doing that anyway, but it's been on other random topics in SimCity where it's like, make a really good trade city and then take a screenshot of it and maybe you'll win something.
Sure.
But now they did their announcements for the expansion, and then randomly in the middle of that, it was like, here's the main guy or some important guy in Maxis telling you about the whole state of the whole game and about what we're working on at the moment in general that's not the expansion necessarily. And then, so in that one, that was a great news piece. So they suggested somewhat about offline, where they're like, yeah, maybe. But then they also pretty much just had in this place, they were just like, it pretty much could just be summed up as larger maps, no.
Oh, really?
Yep. They pretty much just said no to that whole concept, which really sucks.
Yeah.
And then gave their classic little sort of vague excuse where it's like, we tried prototyping and
fucking
load
hell, that
balancing.
massively sucks. Idiots. Just get a grip. You can make it happen. You already made massive fucking maps for the previous SimCities. I'm sure you can manage.
Yes, but it's still different.
This is really fucking stupid. just
come out and proudly say, no, we're not doing the thing that you want us to do. To make it.
If there is a technical reason for it, how fucking bad is their underlying architecture that means I can't do this?
It's ridiculous.
But then I actually went to play the game to discover how, rediscover, as I often do every time I play this, where it's like, why does this suck? Oh yeah. And admittedly, it's been like, I very specifically tried to make cities where I was like, okay, this time for real, I'm going to make one of these great works by myself. I'm going to have each of these cities have a purpose, and then, they're all going to actually work in the region and maybe work together, but not too much because I know how bad that is. So I was very carefully making these cities with their specific goals, and it was actually working pretty good. I did have one random bug that was actually beneficial for a change, where it's like, I needed to move my garbage dump, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna turn on the incinerator so it will burn all the garbage out of that, so it won't convert the ground pollution when I demolish it. So I burnt all the garbage out, demolished it, built a new one, and then for some reason it seemed to have got stuck somewhere that there was an incinerator that didn't exist any longer that was on. So the new garbage dump never had any garbage in it because it was just mysteriously vanishing for no air pollution. And I was like, sweet,
awesome. That's really dumb.
Yeah, it was really dumb. But then, so that was all working fine. I built my first city, which was just like oil, because I was going to make plastic and then maybe try and convert that into like the TVs that you need to make the archaeology. And also this was just like a money city to get the money you need to pay for the archaeology, which is like $1 million.
Right.
So I did that, and then I had my second city, which was going to be like, this is just going to be the industrial city, because now that freight actually matters, I was like, I just need to make freight so my commercial zones can be less pissed off. So that was just going to be my all-industrial city as much as possible, which still isn't very easy, because you're like, well, I have to have all these workers to work in the industrial, but then they want commercial as well, so then that commercial eats up some of the industrial. You have to like be super careful with your balance. And then so that was going okay, and that made some money. Actually, that city, weirdly, well, I guess not weirdly, when you're making the specializations where it's like oil or whatever, that, because you're making all this infrastructure around oil, like oil wells and refineries and all this shit, that like eats up all your hourly income. So you tend to go into the red, but then obviously selling off the oil is making you the money to counteract that. Whereas like in the city where I was only doing regular industrial buildings and then just houses, that city has ludicrous income where it's like plus 7,000 quid an hour. It's like way higher than, but then it still doesn't actually make as much money as selling off the resources, which is a weird, like,
strange.
It's kind of distracting when you see that red thing in your bar and it's like negative 1,000. And it's like, no, that's not actually representative of what I'm getting. I've got 4 million quid.
It's fine. When I sell this off, it will be good again.
Yeah.
So it doesn't self-sustain. It just has to.
Yeah, as long as it's all operating, you're fine. But then if the oil dries up, you're fucked. And then I went on to make the third city where I was going to do metal extraction and like make the alloy and stuff that I need for the TVs to make. But then sort of halfway through this, I realized it doesn't actually work because you can't very easily trade the actual resources between cities unless they're both active at the same time.
Oh, right.
Like, you can build a storage zone in your town, build it all up, and then be like, okay, send all this to the other city, and then go to the other city, and then be like, okay, I've got the storage zone to receive all this, but you can't just have, like, a constant trickle or anything. So you can't really manage the supply lines very well unless you're playing it simultaneously.
Well, that may be part of this
exactly.
like, intrinsic multiplayer design.
So I was like, well, at least I'm making money off all this metal. I can just buy the plastic and then build the processors or whatever here. So I started doing that, and by this point, I got enough money in that first city to unlock the archaeology work, start the project, so I could see how much of the resources I need. And I was like, okay, do that. And so I started it in the first city. And I was like, well, the first city, you can get a tiny bit of alloys from recycling and send that to the archaeology. And I went to the second city just to check up on it. It was like, well, I guess you can't really do anything because you're only making freight, and that's got nothing to do with the archaeology. But this city is closer, so you can see the archaeology side of it better, and that's nice. And then I went to the third city, and it's like, well, fuck, I've run into the into the apparently really old, still here bug of the Great Work system, where this city can't fucking see it, and therefore can't interact with it in any way.
Shit. That's pretty bad.
Yep. So it's basically fucked. I think it's some kind of weird. I thought if I just logged out and logged in, or left it for a while, and the server would catch up, because it's obviously it's communicating that state to the server at some point, but it still hasn't. And I'm like, this is just fucked. And then at that city, that third city unlocked the ability to make the archaeology as well, and had enough money to do it. So I was like, well, maybe if I just start the archaeology project from this city, it'll realise that it already exists. But that hasn't done it. It's just got locked in, it took the money and then was like, okay, the request to start the archaeology project is pending, and now it's just pending forever. So it's like, great. This whole thing is fucked. So yeah, SimCity still fucked.
What a surprise. Well, it's a shame you went to all that effort to try and make it work after they patched all this stuff, and it's still screwed.
Fundamentally broken.
Yep, there's still things that fact. And I've still been avoiding using the region stuff as much as possible. Each city has its own schools. There's no student commuting for that classic bug that I love.
Good idea.
Is that bug still there?
Last time I checked, I think they'd almost fixed it. It just it wasn't nearly as bad as it was. It was just a little trickle of students would occasionally disappear. Not just all of them.
That's some kind of acceptable loss.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's in that case, it's sort of fixable, because technically it was fixable before, because what you could do was just look for the buildings that didn't have any students in them ever, demolish them, let them rebuild, and then it would repopulate them with new students.
Where do the children go?
Yep, exactly. So, that was the solution to that problem. Still a bad solution.
It's just not very analogous to the actual cities that you're trying to simulate.
No. And the AI for driving and stuff is still. It was in that industrial city where it was only making freight. I was like, well, these roads are getting kind of crowded. Maybe I should well in advance of when I actually need it. Maybe I should start working on a tram line or whatever they're called, streetcars. Drop a streetcar line that transports people from the residential area past the commercial area down to the industrial area, or down to the college, because there's loads of commuters that need to get to the college for students. So I set up this fucking tram line, and it's just. I could have sworn they said that they fixed the trams to make them less retarded, but they totally didn't, because it's all the residents come out of the buildings, go to that first tram line stop, get on the tram, go round the corner to the commercial area, get out, realise that they can't use any of these commercial buildings because they're already all sold out, or they're students, so they're not even meant to be there, walk back to the first tram station, get on a tram, go to the second tram station, get off, and it's you're meant to go past that one!
Oh, God.
You idiots! And they just spent the whole day walking around that one block, just going backwards and forwards between those two tram stations. So I was like, well, fuck that, demolish that whole thing.
God damn it. How?
It's just depressing.
At what point during the process of making this game did they not just go, shit sparks, can it? Well, presumably because they made some amount of money back by actually selling this pile of crap.
Well, it's the sort of classic problem with looking at things that are fucked up in games, where it's you can imagine that the situations where as much testing as you can do, you're never going to happen upon some things, because it only happens in certain situations. And if you haven't,
it just seems so goddamn common in this.
Well, it's common, but it's if you haven't. I mean, that is if your city was in a slightly different layout, that tram line would probably work, because enough of the people if your stations were in a different order, the trams would go to the stations in a different order, and it would appear to work. And you'd never see that problem, or you wouldn't see it significantly enough to know it was happening.
I don't know, man. Yeah, they play test these things pretty thoroughly these days, especially as high profile release as this is. You'd expect that they'd have had thousands of hours of game time put into it.
Yeah, but the trouble. I think the trouble with SimCity is maybe one of the earliest problems I talked about with it is maybe the fact that the simulation doesn't work isn't as visible as it should be. It's like when it's not like it immediately fucks your town up. It might take a while for like those people stuck in the tram loop to be like, I haven't been to work for a while, so I don't have any money, so now I'm going to leave the town. And you're like, what the fuck's going on? And then you go look for it.
Yeah. I wonder if or maybe there was just a sort of like a shoulder shrug of like when they see something like this happens and they're just like, oh, that's probably not important. It was I guess the problem with pretty much every problem in SimCity is that the mechanics of that game are such that kind of everything is a problem if it doesn't work right.
Yeah, but then if only one thing doesn't work right, sometimes everything else just is working well enough to mask the one thing that's working right.
Well, that's probably okay, maybe. But if it's as you say, children disappearing, so which critically affects your entire town, then it's
that one was. I mean, they patched that one, so
yeah, I know.
Because they worked that one out eventually.
I know, but it's just one of those games where you can't really afford to make. It sounds like every little problem you have has actually got some.
Everything has nasty, a little problem, and they eventually snowball.
It's a fairly nasty ramification, yeah.
Yeah. That's SimCity.
God damn it!
Still.
Okay.
Why isn't there any competitor to SimCity? Or is it? Well, there's the Cities in Motion.
Yeah.
Well, what's that like? Has anyone actually tried it? Or
I mean,
does Tropico count?
I think Tropico is probably the nearest.
Kind of,
because it's the Cities in Motion stuff is probably more similar to transport.
Yeah, it's more transport focused.
It's not like city building. I mean, it does have city building, but it's not.
There was a game on Steam the other day that was just called Bridge Builder.
Yeah, that's basically a rip-off of Bridget.
Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah.
Also, Bridget, actually, I think a new version of Bridget is in Greenlight as well.
Good old Bridget.
Yep.
She's a good workhorse. Terrible joke over.
Terrible joke.
And sealed with some silence.
Okay. And I think that was more or less everything. It probably wasn't. I'm pretty sure there was something else that I was playing when I wasn't playing Super Hexagon in that middle bit. But it's been 3 weeks, so I can't really remember.
I think it's Rob's turn for what you've been playing.
Last of Us.
Oh, yes. How's it going? Still being harrowed by the harrowingness?
No, I'm about 75% of the way through it now. The game is quite long, has to be said. It's I reckon it's going to take me just under 20 hours to finish.
Wow, okay.
So it's worked out longer than I think. I'm spending quite a lot of time just being thorough, I guess, just wandering around trying to find all the supplies that I could potentially need, because there are occasionally moments where I haven't had many bad times by being thorough, if you know what I mean. It's I think my thorough approach to getting all the supplies means that I'm never really lacking in them, but it does just add to time. And so I think I kind of alluded to this last time, when we briefly mentioned it, I think, on our previous casts, that it's a strange beast, that game, because it's equally impressive as it is kind of not enjoyable.
Okay.
In the sense that it's it goes to great lengths and succeeds at creating this atmosphere of life being a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it does that very, very well. From the brutal first 20 minutes that are just amazing. And then carrying that theme to the first few hours of the game that, it's kind of that everything is going to be hard in this world, and it's murder is just part of your day to day. That it's paints all of that sort of really well. And then as you progress through the game, you kind of realize, well, this is just kind of normal for them. And even when the story starts to evolve, it's I don't think anything that you're doing is particularly out of the ordinary for these guys. They've been doing it for a while. There's still a little bit of that feeling of, oh, hey, Joel seems to be much better at this than anybody in the world.
Right, yeah. Okay.
Why is he not the king of everything?
Yeah, exactly. Why is he not some ridiculous, gang lord or something? But it's, from that perspective, it does a very, very good job. I like their use of, or the sound, they made a bit of a deal of their sound engineering, in some of their like lead up to the game's release, and they weren't kidding. It is fantastic. It's like perhaps they overdo like the muffling effect as someone goes out of the room or something, and they're a little bit further away. You know, they're trying to mimic the sort of the sound bouncing off a few walls to get you to. Perhaps sometimes they overdo that to the point of if you weren't playing with subtitles on, some of the dialogue might be a little hard to hear if you wandered away from your partners. And it's
do you play with the subtitles on?
I play with the subs on, so that's pretty much my go-to with games in general, just in case I miss something.
Right, yeah.
You know, occasionally you can have a bit of dialogue that's important that kind of tells you what you're supposed to be doing next, and if you don't hear it because an explosion happens or something, then that could be a problem. But you know, at least with the subs on, you've got something perhaps to glance at. So yeah, I play it like that. But it does sound fantastic, and it does do its. There are scenes, especially when you're getting like one of the more common zombie types is what they call the clicker, which is blind but uses ultrasound to see. Sort of. They're pretty shit at seeing. But the audio for them is phenomenal because they tend to they do the. I'm playing it with my full surround sound setup in my house, and it's like the game is much easier, I think, because I have surround sound. Like,
okay, that's good.
Because you know it's so important sometimes to hear. Oh shit! There's one coming through the door behind me. Oh god, I'm going to have to adjust my position pretty sharpish. Whereas before, I'd have to spend like a few moments trying to figure out where that sound came from. You know, even in stereo, I don't think it would be as easy to figure out where stuff is. I mean, the when you're doing the stealthy stuff, you do have this ability to attune your hearing. Okay. It's kind of like Joel's superpower, where he can basically see stuff through walls, and it will highlight where things are in relation to you. And it's so that's your visual aid, but you don't have that all the time. And it's somewhat impractical to use it all the time because it kind of muffles most of it's weird because it kind of muffles most sound, but at the same time highlights stuff on screen. So it's kind of weird. It's like, I'm tuning my hearing, so I can't hear, but I can see with my ears. Yeah. So it's a little funny in that regard, and you move super slow, so you can't use it all the time. You're only supposed to use it when you're still and somewhere safe, but, so the stealthness of the game is basically your key to success. If you can get through as many segments as possible stealthily, then you're doing okay because you're not firing your bullets, which are super precious. Okay. You're not really using much of your supplies and stuff if you're just strangling guys. So it's playing stealthily is definitely the way to go. But the problem with that is it suffers from a number of all the normal stealth game traits that I don't really get on with are there. So situations you can do fuck all about are common because while some guys tend to have like patrol routes and stuff like that they stick to, sometimes the timings of those can be kind of awkward. Like the patrols aren't like all synchronized, so there's always going to be an opening if you wait for the next pass or something. The next pass could be slightly different because of the positions of all the guys in combination may not be right. And it's and sometimes there were just way too many guys to make that an easy prospect to figure out. So you may find yourself just sat there for a really long time, just waiting for a decent opening.
Yeah, that's a bit of a pain, isn't it? If you there's nothing you can really do but wait for a gap.
Yeah, and even if there is a good opening, it's a dodgy one. Not a good opening, I guess. It's an opening, but it's a dodgy opening that given if you want to. The game does often give you some alternatives, so you can either strangle someone, which is the best silent way because it doesn't cost anything, but it takes a real long time. Okay. So your strangling takes a little while. So you have a choice to use one of your shivs, but your stuff in this world isn't very durable. So your shiv will, at the start of the game at least, will just break whenever you use it. But it is pretty insta kill. So you have a choice. Can I use a shiv to get out of this a bit easier, or do I want to try and strangle someone? Yada yada yada. Because as soon as you get spot, basically just everything goes to shit. Or if you distract someone, there's a big mechanic with distracting stuff with bottles and bricks. If you distract them, then their pattern is permanently fucked. They don't go back to their old patrol routes. They go to this somewhat tentative wander around somewhere, which is sort of their route can then be quite unpredictable, which puts you at another disadvantage. It's I don't know where the fuck this guy's going to go.
Because you can't learn from their previous route.
Because it no longer applies. It's quite a difficult experience at times, and so there are some situations that are a lot harder than others. Like the spikes seem somewhat erratic. They'll be like, that section was real easy, and you feel quite good about that sometimes. And then you go like 2 steps down the road, and you've got a really, really hard one.
Oh no!
And then some of the AI behavior in those situations is somewhat weird as well. If you've like put them in this somewhat like not on their normal patrol route state, they still seem to have the ability to sort of follow you around the map sometimes. Like, I did one section where I ended up in a building quite high up and picked off a couple of guys up there. And then, but I'd already had a firefight like earlier in this encounter, where I got spotted and things had gone bad, but I'd managed to get out of their line of sight and they went back to kind of just looking for me. But then they all sort of slowly meandered up this one staircase to where I was. So like I had the entire like area of people just all heading in my general direction. And it's like, how the fuck did you know I was here?
Okay,
like,
that's not good. Yeah.
It's like, it does seem a bit strange at times and like somewhat artificially making it hard for you. I don't think this game must be really not fun. I mean, it's not generally a fun experience, and I know that's intentional, but that doesn't necessarily make me endear to the game.
Yeah. So it's not. Yeah, I mean, it's escapism, isn't it, that you want? Though I don't know. It's like it's not.
But is that the kind of escapism you really want to have? Like this feeling of like 20 hours of. This is real hard. The thing is when I succeed in an encounter, because this is so difficult to get most of them right, the whole game literally feels like you're sort of bumbling your way through it.
Mm.
Like I've only
so at no point do you feel like, oh, okay, I've got this, and I'm skilled.
I've got this. No, it very rarely feels like that. And this is partly because like when things get up in your face, like if you do really fuck stuff up and you get like swarmed by the runner zombies, like the up close interactions are pretty clunky and pretty messy. It's like you don't have enough flexibility to do really what you want, and you're not really, and that's again kind of I guess the point and stuff. If you're being swarmed by zombies, your options will become limited quite quick, but it just doesn't feel slick enough sometimes for you to be able to get out of them. Yeah. And there are some scenarios where that is forced upon you, like you'll be in a little room trying to guard a door while someone gets it open, and there'll just be like zombies coming at you. But even in normal mode, it feels like there's too many zombies sometimes, and it's like it makes it somewhat of a crapshoot. Like if they happen to come through in a slightly different order and a slightly different timing, then you're okay. If they all just happen to come in at just the wrong moment, then you're boned, and there's not a lot you can do about it unless you burn all your supplies potentially. And it's like a lot of these scenarios feel like are easier the second time because you kind of know what's going to happen. And it's like I'm not sure that's good design. From having to see how it plays out in order to be better at it next time. In order to actually even succeed.
That's kind of almost a classic example of something what you kind of don't want, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah, and it kind of takes you out of the experience when you die because you no longer kind of believe that. Yeah, perhaps you could get through the game without dying. It makes their plight somewhat more unrealistic in a game that kind of hangs on quite a lot of realism. Yeah, it's like I quite like the way they treat the zombies. The zombies aren't dead in that game. They're not dead people. They are a very bad infection that like totally fucks you over. And it's so that's why you can strangle a zombie in this, which I find interesting. It's like they have to have the biology of them still has to function.
Yeah.
Which is like wrong with pretty much every other zombie thing.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
And it's sort of like I kind of expected there to be more story as well. Whenever there is like a cutscene, it's really well done, but there isn't actually many story beats per se. It's just kind of a meandering tale. It has its few like real big punctuation moments, like you meet a guy and then a few scenes later that guy dies in some bad way, but then ultimately the story is I need to get here.
Yeah,
there's not a lot more, and the reason is often as limited as that. It's like we need to go here.
because we need MacGuffin X or to get to Y or something.
Yeah, there's no real. It's starting at the point I'm at to play some of its. This is going to come up at some point. Cards like from like the characters' backgrounds and things like Joel's history and stuff like that. It is now starting to play some of that, and but it's just taken a real long time to get there. And I actually find the most I almost enjoy the times when nothing is happening in that game, and that is a weird thing to say. I kind of like just going through the environment and scavenging.
I don't know. That makes sense to me. Yeah.
But it's in the grand scheme of the game that's the moments I kind of take away from it.
Yeah.
Is that really a good thing? It just puts me in this real confused state where I don't really know if I think it's a good game or not. I think it's a very, very slick production.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the same problem people are having. Maybe it's comparable to the kind of opinion that Beyond Two Souls is making, because that's probably the same thing. An incredibly slick production that's perhaps not that great a game, in quotes.
Yeah, Last of Us probably more of a game.
It's definitely more of a game.
Yeah. But okay, interesting. So it's kind of. Do you think it's like off the table for your game of the year kind of considerations?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Because there's what lols.
Yeah, I don't know if what's the thing? I don't really know if it is a disappointment because it ticks. I think it ticks the boxes that it's trying to tick.
Yeah.
It's like, were you enthusiastic about it in the first place?
Yeah.
So that's the disappointment factor.
Maybe it's because again, this is the sort of the expectation problem, I suppose, with some of these things. You come from playing Uncharted and Naughty Dog's sense of, oh wow, that was an amazing set piece, and holy shit, that was ridiculous, and like Nathan Drake being a generally likable character and being quite fun. Joel's not likable, he's quite gruff and quite to the point. He's sort of likable, but he's very much he's not really there's not that much character there in a weird way. He's kind of a blank slate that you can, I guess, project yourself onto, and you let Ellie kind of carry the quips, I guess, and the attitude. It's Joel's just very much we've got to get out. The number of times in the first few hours where he says we've got to get out of here in some way, like gets a bit grinding, I guess. It's like, we've got to get out of here. Let's just get out of here. It happens a lot.
Well, wherever you're going is likely to be somewhere where you've got to get out of, I expect.
It's somewhere where you're not. Yeah, so I don't know. I think maybe you're right. Maybe I don't like it enough, or I'm not. If I'm not sure about it, then that probably does rule it out, like as being.
I expect so.
Maybe it's a worthy nomination, but I'm not sure I could give it to it.
Mm-hmm.
Or but other categories, as I say, the visuals are great. It does suffer for some weird, like texture blurring. Like if you turn around too quick, sometimes like some of the detail that you can see doesn't look quite there, and then it will suddenly sharpen. And it's like, so maybe that's like a weird blur technique they're using, but sometimes that looks a bit funny.
Mm.
But generally, it's a very, very good looking game. It kind of like reminds me a lot of the level of detail in some of the environments, even the not important environments that you're wandering around, is quite impressive.
Right.
Like at one point you'll wander into a student dormitory, and it's like the styling of what would be there and what isn't there, and the one-off posters that are just like one-time assets and stuff like that is really quite cool. The world is an incredibly detailed place, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Gears of War, like destroyed beauty aesthetic. It's like, it's not quite Gears of War because all of the architecture in Gears of War is insane, but
that's true. But I know what you mean. There's definitely
it has like it does the broken world thing very well, and the sound design is fantastic. I like their use of soundtrack in the sound design, is because it's a barely there soundtrack. They only use it at like after something dramatic has happened. Perhaps they'll use they'll have some quiet guitar twiddling going on in the background, or during a stealth section there'll just be the odd drum beat or something like dum dum.
Yeah,
they don't overdo it, and the vast majority of the game has no soundtrack, and it kind of works.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, especially when the sound is important to the. It'd be a bit weird if you had some kind of dramatic soundtrack going on while you were trying to fight the clicker things that rely on trying to find sound and stuff.
And I know Gnome probably doesn't like it, but I like the kind of sound balance, like the level, the dynamic range of it. Like most stuff seems to happen at quite a comfortable thing, but as soon as a gunshot fires, it's loud.
Right, yeah, that's cool.
And it's really cool. It's, again, just adds to this sort of realistic feel of the whole thing. And it's, so yeah, technically impressive. Just not sure if I really like it.
A bit like filth.
A bit like filth. Yeah.
That's technically impressive necessarily.
I know, not really. It's well acted, well put together film, but maybe not technically, I guess.
Okay, fair
stylistically.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's taken up quite a lot of my time.
Okay.
I did, as I sort of alluded to earlier, play a couple of hours of Paper Mario, from Thousand Year Door, from the start. So there was a save file on my card, and it's but the problem is I loaded it up and I can't remember. Was this my playthrough? Did I ever play this? I don't really remember playing this.
Well, I'm pretty sure on my save, because for a change, unlike most fucking Nintendo games, you get 4 save slots per save
block,
file.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure my one had 3 different saves that I played at various different times.
Yeah, there's one. The one on my card is 26 hours in, and I'm I don't remember playing it that much, so I've just started again.
Yep.
So I couldn't remember what the fuck I was supposed to be doing anyway.
No,
so
naturally.
I just don't think it was me. It's weird, but man, that game is good. Even though it hasn't, I'm only a few hours in, 2 or 3 hours in, something like that. So I'm still doing. I'm in Hooktail's castle,
right? Yeah,
right near the start, and it's I've not had Coops for long.
No, he's the best.
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
He's practically way better than all the other variants.
Yeah, I just love the writing in that game. It's consistently funny. Just little things. I'm sitting there going, I don't think Gnome really appreciates that level of humour. Maybe it's just dumb humour that I kind of like. But
well, there's also Nintendo specific humour, I guess.
Yeah, some of it. But it's
I always just
that game really
those
does.
birds talking about fat pipes and things. That was hilarious.
Yep.
That's a bit later on though, but that bit was super cool.
But that game really does just stand up now. Another, it's totally fine to just play now. It hasn't aged at all.
You just want to be able to play it in HD. That's all.
Yeah, but even then, I don't really notice it that much in this. There's something about that aesthetic that doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
Yeah,
it's more than good enough.
Is it?
Yeah. So I might keep playing that, to be honest, for a while. But it's kind of if I don't really feel like playing The Last of Us, so I tend to set aside a good number of hours. If I'm going to play a Last of Us session, I have to make sure I have quite a lot of time to do it. It's one of those games that really benefits from sitting down and spending 2 or 3 hours in a chunk. Whereas Paper Mario, I can jump in for about an hour and they'll be fine.
Assuming you can find a safe point.
As soon as you can find a safe point, but they're plentiful enough. I just love the stupidness of the cursed chests. I'd forgotten about that, how it does that whole sequence.
Ridiculous, yeah.
Every
time.
It's well, bam, you're cursed. Isn't this curse terrible? Doesn't seem so bad. It's actually a power up. It's a power up. Yeah. Oh my god, you're an airplane. Oh. I love that. It's just so dumb. I'll probably spend quite a bit of time on that.
Cool, yeah.
See if I can finish it this time.
And the infinite dungeon of levels of Doom, the well of Doom.
Never do that. Or actually do it to however far you have to get down to get the only thing that matters out of it. I can't remember what
100 or something? 100 levels?
Well, it's 100 levels total, but you don't... Yeah. I've never bothered to do it. Or there's something that happens after 20 or something.
That's right.
Useful. I can't even remember what it is. It's a badge or something.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember watching you do that.
Yeah.
It's what else I've been playing. Shit ton of Awesomenauts still. I cannot drop that game. I even sort of thought, I have been thinking to myself, I really should stop playing this. Because I've not been having a good few weeks, let's be honest. I'm having a real shit run of it right now. Just incredible bad luck all the time. And I keep coming across I think the Awesomenauts community is generally a very likable crowd. They're not that offensive and stuff like that in the chat and stuff like that. They're normally pretty friendly. It's like, oh yeah, well played, guys. You definitely deserve that and stuff like that. Most of the time, they're a great. It's actually a great community. But this last couple of weeks, I seem to be attracting assholes just straight into the game, and everything they say is "fuck you." Oh my god, fucking noob team. And then that may be the thing that everyone says in their heads, but you just don't chat about it the whole time because it just annoys everyone. Or the number of people that like halfway through the game are just like, well, this looks like GG, I'm going to let them win, and then just sit in the base so they don't have a quit penalty, and just like, well, we're a man down, because he's AFKing, and then you can't game design. You can't win at that point. But yeah, but there should be like an AFK kicker.
There's not an AFK kicker. There needs to be more penalty for
not doing it.
Yeah, for not participating.
Yeah, it's pretty annoying when that happens, and I've had that happen several times.
Or alternatively, just make it so it doesn't take quite so long to lose once you start losing.
Well, the thing I have the most trouble with is that this plagues every game in existence that you play online, but even though the pings look good in that game, occasionally we will have one player that is super laggy, and they'll be like, yeah, but I'm pinging at like 40, and it's like, fuck, I don't care. To me, you're jerking all over the place, and that can have some real crappy side effects, like being able to reach far, far further than they can actually visibly look like. I should probably do some streams and record some of this sometimes to try and prove my point, because there are times where it is.
But then you'll just be lagging for some reason.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. But there are times where it is really, really frustratingly bad. Where you can. There have been times where I've just died, and there's been nothing that I can see on the screen, and it's like I have no idea what the fuck happened there. How could I have possibly avoided that in a competitive game? It's like, how was that my fault? And it's a bit of a bummer, because on the whole, the structure of that game is great, but it's just the odd bit of lag is really, really problematic. Plus, my kill-death ratio is in the toilet right now, so that's it doesn't help when this keeps happening to me. That it doesn't make me feel good. My win ratio is about 50% right now, so I guess I'm totally average.
I don't know if that necessarily means average.
Well, I'm currently in League 3 at rank 8,000. So whether that means I'm 8,000th in League 3 or whether that means 8,000th in total, I don't know. But it's one of those games I really want to be good at, but it just feels like there's this occasional technical problem is just making me not understand what I need to do better. It's the peak, I think, that I have in every multiplayer game. I reach a point and then I don't understand what I need to do to get better. So, Gerarg, maybe this is the point where I should give up.
Well,
and then inevitably get drawn back in when the expansion comes out.
When's that coming out?
Don't know. It only got kickstarted a few weeks ago. So.
Oh, cool. Okay. Cool.
That's pretty much it. I did the odd other little sneaky bit of game. I played some Beat Hazard, just to kill time. And
I remembered something that I also played in the gaps. That was also something that you played in the gaps. We actually went back into Guild Wars slightly.
Oh yeah, we
just
did
for a little while.
Yeah, do the Halloween clock tower again.
Yeah,
it's the same.
Everyone's favourite jumping puzzle.
It's the same tower as before.
Is
Rob
there
still has problems.
I still have problems
reason.
with the jumping mechanics, so it's just really hard to judge. But,
I can do that tower every time practically.
Yeah, you're really good at that. I just feel like I get stuck on things that I can't see, or it doesn't jump right, or I had latency in my jumps, which was frustrating.
Which I'm still blaming on your keyboard.
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah, I'm not ruling that out. That's quite likely.
But at least they did patch that to make it so that everyone apart from you is almost invisible.
Yeah,
which was the big problem with it before.
That is quite nice, actually.
Especially when you're playing in a sewer.
Yeah, they just appear as glowing balls, so you can see where they are, but they don't obscure your view of yourself, which was a real shitter before.
And also, I guess they also they kind of inherently solved that problem another way by the way they made it so that it separates you off into groups of 5, basically. It's no longer server based.
Well, it's a little annoying because you
can't hang around with your friends any longer.
Yeah, and you can't. Well, they've made it into a bit of a competition now, so you can who can run the tower successfully in 15 minutes. Well, no, but at the end of it, like, it just means that there's like an extended wait period of a few minutes when the game ends, and it's like you're waiting for it to turn over to the next one. Really, at that point, you I just want to run the fucking tower again. Come on!
It's only like a minute.
It's like 3.
It's not because
it cuts out a minute earlier and then says gather round my subjects, and then you have to wait a minute for the scoreboard to come up.
Yeah,
and
minute.
And then that probably takes another minute.
No, it doesn't. Because it says gather round my subjects when there's not enough time to do one more run, which is less than a minute and a half.
And then the timer runs down.
Comes up after that minute and a half is over.
Yeah, and then it sits there for a while.
And then it sits there for like 30 seconds and then restarts.
Still
2 minutes. Barely 2 minutes.
Yeah, but I just want to be running it all the time. That's restart theory. I just want to be running it. Don't want to wait.
And then
I want to be like Meat Boy.
Really not much else going on in the Halloween thing. It's basically, there is a new story segment, but you can't. Well, you can do like this new little mini story segment where you go and see the Mad Prince instead of the Mad King, and then he escapes or whatever. And you're like, oh no, we have to stop him. But then you can't go into the second part of that story until you've done the Halloween achievements, basically. So I haven't seen that yet. Grade that out. And then there's some specific timed stuff for actual Halloween as well, of course. Like the Mad King will actually turn up on October the 30th or whatever. So don't forget.
Or I'll forget.
Then you can do Mad King Says again, and everyone can type yes into chat because that's wrong.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
You're not meant to say yes, you're meant to type /yes, because that's a completely different thing.
It's really funny. The whole thing is really stupid. But it's mostly a rehash of last year's content.
Yeah, pretty much.
Probably.
Is there any Halloween content for TF2 coming up?
Yeah, what's happening there? Because it's not normally something.
No, I haven't heard anything.
Is TF2 winding down, yeah?
What do you mean is it winding down? It's winding down for fucking ever. I mean, they did that one big patch recently, didn't they, where they fixed all the maps.
True.
Or tried to.
Yeah. But admittedly, we haven't played it for a while now. So.
Well, I have. You haven't.
No, I haven't. It's because I play Awesomenauts when I have that itch at the moment.
Boo. Well, it's because I'm not around. As you said before about Team Fortress, you only like to play it when I'm there for some reason.
Exactly. Multiplayer games deserve to require people for me.
Clearly.
So I can share my frustration.
And then I can say, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, which doesn't help. It really winds me up.
Cool.
So
I just go quiet if Kippers does that and I'm playing with him.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything.
With Kippers, it's important not to contribute anything towards the great rage.
The rage is explosive.
Because it will just get worse.
Yeah, really badly. I mean, I'm a bit bad on that stuff. If I have one good moment, even in a game, will suddenly make all of it subside, and I'm like, I'm good again. This game's awesome. Like if I just do one thing in a really bad Awesomenauts game, if I just do one thing like midway through that game, like even if my ratio is terrible or I'm having I throw someone into a turret or something, which is always satisfying, and then it's just like, yeah, all right, this is okay.
Awesome. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, someone's like, "Oh, goddamn! Nothing's going my way at all."
How the fuck did that happen?
Yeah, how did I get chucked in that?
Multiplayer games. They're dumb, really.
Yeah, they're quite dumb.
Like they're not good for your self-esteem. Not that it matters.
So yes, where are we?
You've been playing anything?
Grand Theft Auto, obviously. Nothing else. But I will be playing Kerbal, I expect. Especially since I started watching an old HBO docudrama from the late 90s about the Apollo program. Yeah, it's called From the Earth to the Moon, and it's got
I've heard of it.
Tom Hanks a little bit, and I've only watched the first episode. At first it was mildly TV embarrassing, not that good acting or whatever at first, but then the actual space missions and stuff, the special effects there is pretty good. Like they must have got actual models of the spaceships, basically, like must be full size because they're clambering around them and stuff. It looks pretty not too bad, and it's an interesting story. So it's pretty good so far. But it is in 4:3 ratio. That shows how old it is.
Hella old.
Yeah, but the most hilarious thing was that Buzz Aldrin is played by Bryan Cranston. So that was hilarious. Having just finished watching Breaking Bad, it's like, here's the same guy from like, how long ago? Like 15 years ago. So it was kind of hilarious. Anyway, yes, well, Grand Theft Auto, we talked a little bit, but yeah, it's going well. Enjoying it, of course.
Still holding you, it seems, yeah.
Yeah, still holding me. Well, I was like saving up the heists, but then I ended up with like 2 to do at once, pretty much. So I barreled through them.
A better clear one.
Yeah, pretty much, because there's a lot of like heist setup missions where you're like preparing, which is quite nice. They're usually quite short little things, but quite cool to go along with the sort of strangers and freaks missions and stuff. And yeah, enjoying it, getting more used to the city and stuff. Haven't really done too much countryside stuff since I started out with Trevor, because he kind of comes to the city quite soon, and so all my characters are currently in the city. So I presumably I'll be back in the country for some more stuff in future. Yeah, and what else is going on? I think I like Michael the most, I think, to play as. I'm not sure, really. Franco's cool too. I don't know. It's all good. It's all good. The heist, I did the heist, which was the sort of Heat style one where you knock over the security van, or whatever. And that was pretty cool because that was the first one where you're all in a massive firefight and you're kind of switching between. I think it was shown in a lot of the
I think I know the one you mean. Yeah,
because it's got like Trevor's on the roof with a rocket launcher and a sniper rifle, and then Franklin's in the streets and stuff, and it works pretty nicely. Although it seemed to be over quite quick, but I think maybe it was just a bit quite intense and lots of shooting and stuff going on. So
intense, man.
Yeah, it was cool. It's interesting seeing what other people say. I think the thing that distinguishes me maybe from you guys or other like Jeff or whatever on Giant Bomb is that I like driving everywhere because I kind of never get tired of the game of driving at full speed through the traffic and not hitting anything. I've always been fairly good at it, and also and it's always interesting because like you're going through, even if you're going through the same street twice, like there's always something new to see. Like it might be a different time of day or weather or whatever. It always looks and feels different. Well, not always, but you know what I mean. It's like there's lots to see, even if you're going through the same area again, and you get used to.
So you like being a tourist?
Kind of, yeah, but at absolute maximum speed I can possibly manage, like fastest car possible, like through the densest traffic or whatever. The most annoying thing is on this one there's more, because it's LA, there's more kind of highways, like even in the city. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of sort of leaf junctions and things, and sometimes it's quite hard to tell on the sat nav, you know, which lane you're supposed to stay in, because otherwise you end up on the wrong off ramp, and then of course it recalculates and you're going like a whole miles round to get back on course because you're on a highway system. And it's like, oh god damn it, I couldn't see which way we wanted me to go.
Do you think you would have benefited from just having a little nod in the world?
Well, people have been talking about that. I mean, I was expecting them to put something into the world, but I can see why they haven't, because, you know, they don't want to mess up the world or anything, but it might have been quite nice to have something. I mean, this time the sat nav is like 3/4 view, like a real sat nav or whatever, so it's not top down anymore, so that kind of helps. You can see more of what's ahead.
Or would it just have been better to do it like a Burnout game and just have random piles of junk along the side of the highway that make convenient ramps, so you can just be like, woo, fuck this highway.
Well, there are some convenient ramps, but not that many. But they're usually built out of like billboards or something.
I mean, you could argue Saints Row has kind of that problem, except the off ramps aren't really that complicated in places. Just jump off.
And Saints Row actually does have in the world stuff, doesn't it? For like saying where to go, does it?
Yeah. The sat nav just puts giant arrows.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
so that's a bit
clearer. If you tell it to give you a route, it will just put a giant marker.
Yeah.
Like where if you drive it properly, anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I've tried playing golf. It's like a golf game. Like it's like a simple golf game. I don't know. That's
Mario
okay.
Golf.
Yeah. It's like Mario Golf.
Are you going to win?
No, I didn't do. I got a birdie and then I screwed it up really badly on the next one. And then you can, but it's funny because you can you can press a button to like skip ahead to the next shot or the next hole or whatever, or you can walk between every shot and walk between every hole if you want, or drive a golf buggy between every hole, because then you have, it doesn't force you to skip around. You can move your own character through a whole game of golf. So that's quite mysterious.
Is there a multiplayer mode for the golf?
I don't know.
I can't remember seeing it.
It could be.
About it.
I don't think it'd be too much fun.
That would just suck, though.
That'd be really funny. Like if someone
get on the golf course and then suddenly someone comes to run you over. Inevitably.
You just get crushed.
That'd be so funny.
That would be funny. So yeah, that's okay. I sometimes go to see my shrink as Michael. So that mysteriously, like, there seems to be. Well, I don't know how many times I've done it, but he seems to keep up with what's going on in the story, and there always seems to be new. There's loads of scenes in there that you could easily miss if you just didn't bother to go and see. It's not like he's calling you up saying you have to come over or something.
Oh,
you just randomly randomly decide to do it, and like he seems to, the scene seems to know, quite a lot about what's going on in the story. So that's pretty cool. Stuff like that. Yeah, you got me.
You have to make the choice to do that. It's not.
Yeah, exactly.
Explicit.
No, I mean, you see him at the start of the game, and he's like, "Yeah, you can go there." It like gives you a prompt saying you can go and see your shrink or whatever if you want.
Is there any benefit to it? Is it like a stat bonus or?
I don't know if there is. Maybe, I don't know. It's worth it just to see the scene or whatever, because they're usually funny or whatever.
Yeah, sure. I was just thinking. Yeah, I'm wondering if some players need that impetus, perhaps to. Yeah,
maybe
to come back
to see
or to remember to come back.
Well, there was a joke on Reddit, which was very true, is that he started charging me because he says that my medical insurance has run out or whatever, so I paid in like $1,000 or whatever it was, or no, not that much, but it was quite a bit. But then he always has a nice Porsche sports car or whatever parked outside, so you can just steal it every single time. So it's like, yeah, I'm getting my money back, mate. Anyway, so
every time.
Yeah. So yeah, Grand Theft Auto. I did the mission with the submarine as well. That was quite fun. So there's a submarine. It works. You can go underwater. All that. You can pick up the submarine with a big helicopter, which you stole from a military base, which was quite hard to do.
Wait, what?
You steal a helicopter from a military base.
You can pick up a submarine with a helicopter?
Yeah, with a winch. It's a small submarine. It's only
okay.
like a...
okay.
It's not... You can't
say submarines are usually pretty big.
No, it's like a, exploratory kind of thing.
Right, a little bug thing.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. No, otherwise it would be like getting in a ship or something, wouldn't it? I don't think that would quite work in Grand Theft Auto. I don't know. Although it's
a daring escape on a tanker.
Yeah, well, it was pretty cool how you could take control of the aircraft carrier in Battlefield 1942. Well, they took that out, didn't they? That was awesome. Ram it into the island, obviously, and then everyone just jumps off the deck straight onto the island.
That's much better.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I saw that when I was booting up Origin to play SimCity, they're now in their stupid from the vault thing. They're now up to 2142.
Oh, cool.
So maybe there'll be people playing it. Holy shit.
Is that free then?
No, it's like 10 quid.
But I won't be able to remember my login now.
Wouldn't it just be your EA ID? EA ID.
Well, no, because I didn't have
Yeah.
a stupid, you had to log in with your soldier name or something in that.
I remember my name being Dan Friggin Train because it wouldn't accept
exactly.
anything
I don't
else.
think it was your soldier name. Because Dan had that wrong.
That's awesome.
Anyway, right. How are we
Wrap
doing?
it up,
Yeah.
I
I
think.
think this might be the end of this podcast. Thanks for joining us, listeners. Next time we'll have probably some Kerbal, maybe. Various other things.
Specifics. We'll have specifics.
We'll probably have more Microsoft news, I expect.
Yeah, I'll have finished The Last of Us by next time, I reckon.
And we'll have a final Last of Us, verdict. Indeed.
The last of The Last of Us.
The last of The Last of Us. So join us next time. But for the meantime, goodbye.
Goodbye. Is that going to say goodbye?
No.